Chapter 1338. Husband, I'm back. Lantian County, Yunshan residence. Han Yushi pushed open the door and entered. She saw Li Zixuan, who had just finished practicing his swordsmanship in the front yard, and said with a smile, "How did my wife come back so quickly today?" Li Zixuan took the handkerchief from Xiao He and wiped the sweat on his forehead. He was full of curiosity. Because Yi Fashion was in Guancheng, Han Yushi had been going to the residence next door early in the morning to chat with old Madame Yi and old Madame Yi. The main reason was that she was afraid that the old madam would be too worried and get a mental illness over time. "Huh, husband, aren't you asking the obvious? Yesterday, you told grandmother that Guancheng had fallen and that Fa Shan and the others have been rescued." Grandmother's mood instantly improved. Why would she need me to comfort her? When I went there just now, grandmother had already left with grandfather. I heard from the servant that they had gone to the academy early in the morning. Han Yushi said with a smile. After Yi Fashion escaped from Guancheng, he did not return to the capital with the army. After bidding farewell to Little Yu Iron Egg, Meng Wenhao, Lu Rengue, and the others, he left for Nanyang. He planned to go home and bid farewell to his parents before going to the south to visit the famous mountains and great rivers. He wanted to visit the reclusive experts and pursue his own path. As for the merits, he did not care at all. Li Zixuan smiled and said, "Grandfather and grandmother have reached the age where they should be enjoying their old age. Something like this happened a while ago, and it really made them worry a lot. In the end, I did not expect Fa Shan to accompany little Yu to Guancheng. This child is kind. The Yi family really has a successor. Grandfather and the others should be happy for Fa Shan." Han Yushi asked curiously, "Husband, do you value Fa Shan a lot?" Li Zixuan now had hundreds of students, but she had never seen Li Zixuan value someone so much. Li Zixuan thought to himself that the future leader of the world's Taoist sects was definitely important to him. However, he could not say such things out loud. He thought for a while and said, "The monk is very talented and intelligent. He is different from the other rich kids. He can endure hardships. It would be hard for someone like him to not succeed in the future. That's why I said that the Yi family has a successor." Han Yushi nodded with a smile. Then she rolled her eyes and said, "Husband, Iron Egg has helped a lot during this expedition. Do you think His Majesty will reward him?" In the end, this was his biological sister. Back then, after Iron Egg went to manage the city, Han Yushi was extremely worried every day. Now that Iron Egg was about to return in triumph, Han Yushi, as his sister, began to worry about whether her younger brother would be able to get the reward he deserved. Li Zixuan patted his wife's shoulder and replied, "Wife, don't worry. His Majesty has always been fair in his rewards and punishments. Iron Egg's contribution is obvious to all. His Majesty will definitely not ignore it. Actually, I don't want to see His Majesty reward Iron Egg too much. He is still young. If the reward is too much, I'm afraid he will lose the motivation to improve himself." Han Yushi said thoughtfully, Husband, you have a point. However, Iron Egg's contribution this time is not that great. I think he should only get some reward money." Young master, young master." Just then, Song Xiaoxi's voice came from outside the courtyard. Li Zixuan turned around and said, "What is it? Come in and talk." Han Yushi saw that Li Zixuan had something important to do, so she went into the house first. Song Xiaoxi entered the courtyard and walked to Li Zixuan's side. He bowed and said, "Young master, the drainage canal beside the Ba River has already drained all the water in the Mei village section of the river. Today, the foundation of the dam will be built. Do you want to go and take a look?" Li Zixuan heard this, and his spirit was lifted. He said with a face full of joy, "Okay, you go first. I will change my clothes and be there soon." The reason why Li Zixuan did not personally participate in this battle was mainly because he was focused on the Ba River Dam. In the past half a month, under the joint efforts of him and Mo Huai and Yin Xiaoning, they had solved many engineering problems in the construction of the dam. The most important thing was that Li Zixuan had solved the most critical problem in the reinforced concrete dam project, steelmaking. Next to the ironworks of the workshop, a small steel mill appeared. The ancient people didn't know how to make steel. In the late spring and autumn period, before 476 BC, man-made steel had already appeared in China. By the time of the Eastern Han Dynasty, the technology of steelmaking had already been mastered. The most commonly used techniques were stir-frying and tempered steel. The so-called stir-frying was to heat pig iron until it was melted or basically melted, then stir in the furnace. The carbon contained in the pig iron would be removed by the oxygen in the air, thus obtaining steel. The quality of steel produced by this method was not high. As for tempered steel, it was to repeatedly heat, fold, and forge a piece of iron. The purpose was to make the structure of the steel dense, the composition of the steel body more uniform, reduce impurities, and thus improve the quality of the steel. Therefore, the quality of the swords made from tempered steel was very high. Although the quality of tempered steel was high, this method had low output and high cost, and it was difficult to meet the needs of industrial development. The method Li Zishuan used was the converter steelmaking method. This method was invented by the British H. Bessemer in 1856. The oxidizing agent used in the process was oxygen. Air was blown into the molten pig iron to oxidize the impurities such as silicon and manganese. A large amount of heat was released during the oxidation process. 1% silicon could raise the temperature of pig iron by 200 degrees Celsius, allowing the furnace to reach a high enough temperature. Converter steelmaking was carried out in the converter. The shape of the converter was like a pear, with refractory bricks on the inner wall and many small holes, tuyere, on the side of the furnace. Compressed air was blown into the furnace from these small holes. It was also called a side-blown converter. In the beginning, the converter was horizontal. Liquid pig iron at 1,300 degrees Celsius was poured in, and a certain amount of quicklime was added. Then air was blown in, and the converter was rotated to make it stand upright. At this time, the surface of the liquid pig iron reacted violently, causing iron, silicon, and manganese to oxidize, FeO, SiO2, MnO, and form slag. Using the convection of the molten steel and slag, the reaction spread throughout the furnace. A moment later, when there was only a small amount of silicon and manganese left in the molten steel, the carbon began to oxidize and form carbon monoxide, exothermic, causing the molten steel to boil violently. A huge flame appeared at the mouth of the furnace due to the overflowing carbon monoxide burning. Finally, phosphorus also oxidized and further formed ferrous phosphate. Ferrous phosphate then reacted with quicklime to form stable calcium phosphate and calcium sulfide, which together became slag. When the phosphorus and sulfur gradually decreased, the flame subsided and brown iron oxide appeared at the mouth of the furnace, indicating that the steel had been refined. The steel produced by this method, whether in terms of output or quality, was superior to the stir-frying method and the 100-tempered steel method. When Mo Huai saw the large amount of high-quality steel produced at the mouth of the converter, he exclaimed in disbelief. It must be known that the Mo family was not only proficient in construction, but also in steelmaking and sword-making. In the end, he discovered that Li Zishuan, who was not a member of the Mo family, actually had such heaven-defying steelmaking skills. Mo Huai could not help but be even more convinced of Li Zishuan because of this. After solving the steelmaking process, Li Zishuan experimented with a mixture of steel and cement. The degree of hardness was comparable to that of a boulder. It was precisely because he solved these basic problems that he was able to build the foundation of the dam today. After changing out of his training clothes, Li Zishuan wore a white scholar's robe and came to the bank of the Ba River. From afar, he could see the black mass of workers on both sides of the river. In order to speed up the progress of the project, Li Zishuan used the tactic of overwhelming the workers, just like the last time when he built Yanwan College. He recruited more than 10,000 craftsmen and commoners. Basically, all the young and strong people in Lantian County were recruited. This was a classic example of not having enough time, so he made up for it with numbers. After all, he had money. Yamacho, you're here. Mo Huai's eyes were sharp. After discovering Li Zishuan's arrival, he hurriedly came up to greet him. Mr. Mo, I heard that the dam is going to build its foundation today, so I came to take a look. Li Zishuan smiled and looked at the Ba River in front of him. Due to the drainage canal next to it, the water in this section of the river had already been drained, revealing the yellow riverbed. The soft sand on the riverbed had already been dug away by the craftsmen and commoners. In a while, they would be building the foundation from where they were dug away. Seeing this scene, Li Zishuan felt a surge of pride in his chest. With a sigh, he said, "After several months, we've finally passed the most difficult time. Before this, who would have thought that we could cut off the surging Ba River in such a short period of time? Now, not only are we cutting it off, but we also have to build a dam with a width of several feet in the middle. From now on, the natural moat will be cleared." Hearing this, Mo Huai laughed and said, "In the end, Yamacho's plan is the most appropriate. Moreover, Yamacho has invested so much manpower, material, and financial resources. If we can't produce results as soon as possible, it would make this old man look incompetent." Li Zishuan hurriedly said, "Why do you say that, Mr. Mo? During this period of time, the one who has worked the hardest is none other than you. When the dam is completed, you will be the hero of the entire Lantian County. All the people who have benefited from the dam will be grateful to you. Hey, Yamacho, according to what you said, I don't have to work hard." While the two were talking, Yin Xiaoning walked over from the side and said half-jokingly. He and Li Zishuan were very good friends, but because he was also on duty at Yinhuang College, when there were people from the college present, he would usually call Li Zishuan Yamacho and not directly call him by his name. This was to give face to his own friend. Li Zishuan turned to look at Yin Xiaoning and said, "Ha, it's all hard work. It's all hard work. Oh, right, Xiaoning, why don't I see girl?" Yin Xiaoning's eyebrows twitched, and he almost vomited blood. A trace of embarrassment appeared on his face. He thought to himself, this bad friend of mine is really touching the pot that doesn't boil. Mo Huai is still in front of me. Is it appropriate for you to mention his daughter in front of him? Ahem. Why is she here? She should be in the workshop right now. After being reminded by Li Zishuan, Yin Xiaoning didn't dare to face Mo Huai as usual. He was nervous and uneasy like a son-in-law meeting his father-in-law. "Young master, Elder Mo, the materials are ready. Should we start building the dam's foundation?" At this moment, Faubert came over to resolve Yin Xiaoning's embarrassment and said, "Yes, let's start." Li Zishuan smiled and nodded. Chapter 1339. The construction process of a dam was generally divided into 3 steps. First, cutting off the flow. Dig one or several tunnels or channels in the natural river. Then cut off the river so that the water flows downstream through the diversion holes or channels. Second, excavating the foundation pit. The dam also needed a stable geological structure to be built, so the sediment on the river had to be dug out, and the embankments, like door frames, on both sides had to be dug out until the bedrock was exposed. Third, filling the dam body. Fill the dam body according to the type of dam, concrete dam, rock-filled dam, etc., until the top was capped. Now, the Ba River Dam was in the second step. Under Li Zishuan's command, concrete pillars wrapped in steel bars were inserted into the foundation pit that had been dug in advance. The riverbed of the Ba River was suddenly filled with dang, dang, dang hammering sounds. After the reinforced concrete pillars were inserted into the riverbed, the next step was to use cement to fill the dam body below. Relatively speaking, this was not difficult, so Li Zishuan watched for half an hour, then said goodbye to Mo Huai and the others and left. When he passed by the workshop, Li Zishuan's heart skipped a beat. He did not go home directly, but walked toward the workshop. When he arrived at the workshop, he asked for Mo Lingwei's location. Li Zishuan went to a laboratory in the headquarters building of the workshop. The door was not closed, just left open. Li Zishuan walked in directly. Mo Lingwei was fiddling with a strange-looking machine on the table. The top of the machine was a cylinder with many rotating mechanisms in the middle. Below the rotating mechanism was another cylinder, and below the cylinder was a square table. There was a square hole in the middle of the table, and a spring clamp was fixed on both sides of the hole. From the appearance, It was basically a beggar's version of a modern microscope. He just did not know how good the image quality was. Lisa Schwann didn't expect this girl to be so capable and efficient in getting things done. The fine-tuning parts of the microscope were all fine-tuned with screws. The workshop didn't have a machine tool yet, so they couldn't process the screws in batches. The screws used in the microscope were all processed by hand. Therefore, this microscope was definitely one of a kind in the world. Even Mo Lingwei herself could not make a microscope that was exactly the same as this one. This also meant that although one microscope had been manufactured, it could not be mass-produced. Lisa Schwann looked at the microscope on the table and couldn't help but ask, "Ink Girl made a microscope?" Ah! Mo Lingwei was focused on adjusting the microscope when she suddenly heard the sound behind her. She screamed and was almost scared to death. "Ah! Yamacho! You! Why don't you make any sound when you walk? Also, why didn't you knock? You scare me to death." Mo Lingwei turned around and saw that the person who spoke was Lisa Schwann. She rolled her eyes and blamed him. Lisa Schwann said innocently, "Ink Girl, the door wasn't closed. Why would I knock? Also, who said that I don't make any sound when I walk? I didn't deliberately control my feet. Ink Girl, you were too focused, so you didn't hear it." Mo Lingwei proudly snorted and avoided the topic. She replied, "This microscope has basically been assembled according to Yamacho's instructions. Currently, it can see some small things, but there are still two problems that I don't understand." Lisa Schwann curiously asked, "What are the problems?" Logically speaking, Mo Lingwei's practical ability in engineering was unparalleled in the entire Yanwang College. Therefore, Lisa Schwann was also very curious about the problem she encountered. First, there's the problem of the light source. Because the distance between the objective lens and the object being observed is very small, it's difficult for the light to shine on the object being observed. Therefore, the image seen through the eyepiece is very dark and difficult to distinguish. Second, what's the point of going through so much trouble to build a microscope? Is it just to see some small things? But if you want to see those small things, you can just use a magnifying glass. Why bother? Mo Lingwei frowned and was very puzzled. It had to be said that this girl's attainments in the field of optics were definitely at a higher level. Now that she was conversing with Lisa Schwann, she had inadvertently used some professional terms. If it were anyone else, they probably wouldn't be able to understand it. Lisa Schwann smiled and replied, "Miss Mo, it's not that there's no solution to the first problem you discovered. First, you can use a set of immortal mirrors to guide the sunlight from outside the house or the candlelight from inside the house and reflect it onto the object. Second, we can directly create a light source under the stage that supports the object being observed." Create a light source? How do you create a light source? Yamacho, are you going to put a candle under it? That won't do. The candle will smoke the lens. Mo Lingwei quickly said. Lisa Schwann was a little amused and said, "Who said I'm going to use a candle as a light source? Don't worry, the light source I'm talking about will definitely not produce any smoke when it shines. Moreover, the light it emits will be several times brighter than the light from a candle." Mo Lingwei curiously asked, "No smoke? Yamacho, is it possible that this light source doesn't need to be burned to emit light? But how can there be something in this world that can emit light without burning? Yamacho, quickly take out this light source and let me take a look." At this moment, Mo Lingwei's interest in Lisa Schwann's light source was far greater than the microscope itself. Lisa Schwann touched his nose and coughed dryly. "Ahem. Ink Girl, this light source hasn't been made yet, so you should use the first method I mentioned." The light source he was talking about was actually a light bulb. Although he couldn't get the key material for light bulbs, tungsten wire, he could use other materials to replace it, such as carbonized bamboo wire. In 1854, Henry Goebbels used a piece of carbonized bamboo wire and placed it under a vacuum glass bottle to emit light. Today, his invention seemed to be the first practical incandescent light bulb. The light bulb he tested at that time could last for 400 hours. Later, Edison used tungsten wire to make incandescent light bulbs, which could only last for about 1,000 hours. Therefore, before finding tungsten metal, using carbonized bamboo wire to replace tungsten wire was a very good choice. Mo Lingwei listened to Lisa Schwann bragging about this light source for so long, but in the end, he said it hasn't been made yet. Even though she usually respected Lisa Schwann very much, she couldn't help but roll her eyes at Lisa Schwann. If it was someone else, she would probably have directly scolded. If you haven't made it yet, why are you talking to me? Yamacho, what about the second question? Mo Ling Wei took a deep breath. She resisted the urge to scold him and said. Lisa Schwann smiled a little awkwardly and said, as for the second question, actually I asked Girl to make a microscope to observe smaller objects. It's hard to see clearly with just a magnifying glass. Mo Ling Wei was puzzled. Smaller objects? What are they? Could it be a molecule or an atom? In Yenwang College's physics and chemistry textbooks, there were only introductions about molecules and atoms. Therefore, it wasn't strange that Mo Ling Wei knew about molecules and atoms. But this girl really dared to say that she wanted to use a microscope to observe atoms. This requirement was too high. First, it had to be clear that the size of atoms was around 0.1 nanometers nm. A normal optical microscope's wavelength distribution was between 400 and 700 nanometers, which was limited by the diffraction limit. The optical microscope's resolution limit was only a few hundred nm. Therefore, if one wanted to use a microscope to observe atoms, they had to use a super-resolution electron microscope. With Tang Dynasty's current industrial foundation, let alone a decade, even if Tang Dynasty was given 100 years, its technology wouldn't be able to reach that level. Girl, you're joking. I'm talking about smaller objects, not atoms. Oh, right, Girl. Have you calculated the magnification of this microscope? Lisa Schwann suddenly thought of a very important question, so he asked. Mo Ling Wei thought for a moment and replied, I've roughly calculated that this microscope's magnification is about 400 times. Lisa Schwann heard this and nodded in satisfaction. In his previous life, Leeuwenhoek made the world's first super magnification microscope, which had a magnification of 270 times. Mo Ling Wei's microscope had completely surpassed Leeuwenhoek's by 270 times. Huh, very good. 400 times, it should be barely usable. Lisa Schwann laughed and then pretended to be mysterious. Girl, follow my previous method and improve the microscope. When the time comes, I'll show you something good. Mo Ling Wei was very curious and asked, Yamacho, what is it? This is a secret for now. Lisa Schwann chuckled and did not answer. Mo Ling Wei curled her lips in dissatisfaction and then put on a pitiful expression and said, Yamacho, look at me, a girl. I don't study etiquette, but I work for you in the workshop every day and don't even receive a salary from you. Do you think it's easy for me? You still treat me like this. You don't know how to treat a girl well. Oof. Lisa Schwann quivered and thought that this girl was really a spoiled actress. He guessed that only Yin Xiaoning could tame her. He quickly waved his hand and said, Ahem, Girl, about what I'm going to show you in a few days. It's useless to say it now because I haven't made it yet. However, you did play a big part in making this microscope, but I'm not a stingy person. When the time comes, I'll give you some benefits, and you'll definitely be satisfied. Mo Ling Wei's eyes lit up, and she immediately became spirited. She quickly asked what benefits? Yamacho, hurry up and tell me. Lisa Schwann chuckled and said, the benefits are that I'll be your matchmaker with Yin Xiaoning. How about it? How's this benefit? Mo Ling Wei blushed and said angrily, Who wants to marry him? Yamacho, when are you going to be our matchmaker? Huh? Lisa Schwann was dumbfounded. He almost didn't get it. Cough, cough. As soon as possible. I'll mention this to your father and Uncle Yin as soon as possible. You go ahead with your work. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Lisa Schwann quickly left. He was afraid that if he stayed with this girl any longer, his brain would become abnormal. Chapter 1340. When Lisa Schwann and Mo Ling Wei were discussing the profound problems of a microscope in the Imperial Palace of Chang and City. In the Imperial Court, a report of victory set off a stormy wave. Yesterday, I received a report of victory. Guangqing County was breached the night before yesterday. Li Jing and Lu Rungue the Bianzhou commandant who was hiding in Guangxing County, worked together from inside and outside. Without wasting a single soldier, they attacked the city. The Chui family's guards and the provincial governor's mansion's rebel army were all executed. The direct descendants of the Chui family of Qinghe, the Zheng family of Xingyang, and the Chui family of Bowling, as well as the provincial governor of Zhengzhou, Chui Quan, and the related criminals of the Guangxing County will all be escorted back to the capital. The soldiers of the three armies returned to the imperial court this morning. At this point, the danger of Luoyang has been resolved, the rebellion in Zhengzhou has been quelled, and the storm in Hunan province has been settled. In the morning, after dealing with the daily reports of the officials, Li Er announced such a big piece of news with a smile. The officials were in an uproar. In the past, when the imperial court sent troops to battle, once there was a report of victory from the front line, the soldiers who sent the report would usually shout "XXX victory" when they entered the city. Therefore, generally well-informed officials could know the victory of the imperial court's army in the front line before the imperial court. But now, all the news of victory came so quietly that the civil and military officials in Chang and city did not notice it in advance. Not only that, the speed of the news was even more unbelievable. Fang Xianling stood up and cupped his hands, saying, "Cui Junshuo and the others disregarded the emperor's grace and rebelled against the emperor. They were guilty of the most heinous crimes. Today they became prisoners. They deserved it. Now that the rebellion has been quelled, I congratulate your majesty." "We congratulate your majesty." The civil and military officials bowed their heads and congratulated loudly. Li Er nodded his head and said, "Aristocratic families rose up at the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty. In the previous dynasty, they formed the 7 big families led by the Chui family of Bowling. However, Qinghe Chui, Xingyang Zheng, and Bowling Chui are going against the heavens and causing chaos. They are no longer worthy of enjoying the glory of a 1,000-year-old aristocratic family. As such, I want to rewrite the annals of the ancient clans and remove these 3 families from the list. This matter will be handed over to you, Minister Fang. As long as you have a need, the officials in the imperial court will be under your command. In addition, in recent years, those aristocratic families and big clans have been selling their daughters for marriage. Every time a girl marries into another clan, they will ask for a large amount of money as a betrothal gift. They will make a deal based on the number of betrothal gifts. I hope that the revised clan annals can completely get rid of such bad habits." The officials were stunned. They were all a loss for what to do with Li Er's combination of punches. Clans, as the saying goes, officials have descendants, and there are officials in the pedigree, that is, aristocratic families. Since Cao Pai implemented the 9-rank system, the official election system was controlled by aristocratic families and big clans. They selected officials completely based on the level of family prestige. In layman's terms, if your ancestor was a high-ranking official, then you can definitely become an official. If your ancestor was a pauper, even if you were a genius, sorry, please stand aside. This way of selecting officials, in the Wei, Jin, and Northern and Southern dynasties, caused a situation where there were no poor families in the upper class and no clan in the lower class. At the same time, in terms of marriage, aristocratic families also thought highly of themselves and never intermarried with poor families. It could be said that family status had completely become the standard to judge a person's moral level in marriage. Under such a situation, the study of genealogy came into being. The aristocratic families all compiled genealogies for themselves and evaluated their family prestige in various places. Moreover, this practice was protected by the government at that time. After more than 200 years of the Wei, Jin, and Northern and Southern dynasties, the aristocratic family's power had been severely weakened by the Sui dynasty. They were no longer as glorious as before. Emperor 1 of the Sui dynasty, Yang Jian, abolished the 9-rank system and created the imperial examination system. Moreover, after experiencing the turmoil at the end of the Sui dynasty, the aristocratic families suffered a serious blow. However, in the Tang dynasty, the Shandong aristocratic families led by Cui, Lu, Zheng, Li, and Wang were deeply rooted and still had a certain amount of power, even though they had been attacked by the Peasant War. Many ministers in the imperial court fought to marry the Shandong aristocratic families, and the Shandong aristocratic families still maintained their aloof social status. In the common people, the Cui family's reputation and status far exceeded that of the royal family. This was something that Li Er could not tolerate. Now that he had the prestige of pacifying the three aristocratic families, Li Er decided to revise the clan annals and reconfirm the Longxi Li family's aloof status in the world. Who would dare to disagree? Sometimes, although the butterfly effect could change the direction of the wheel of history, some historical events would still happen. It was just that the events were brought forward. According to the official records, in the 6th year of Jingguan, Li Er and Fang Xianling had a long conversation. During this conversation, the topic of marriage customs at that time was mentioned. They believed that the drawbacks of the clans selling marriage were prominent and harmful to the customs of the people. The imperial court should start to reform. This long conversation between the emperor and his minister opened the prelude to revising the clan annals. Immediately after, Li Shimin gave specific instructions. He ordered the officials of the imperial court to search for the clan records in the world. Based on the relevant records of the existing historical materials, he would examine the authenticity of them, praise the loyal and virtuous, and demote the traitors. This was a huge project. With the emperor's order, the group of talents around Li Shimin began to move actively. Those who participated in the revising of the clan annals included Wei Zheng, Fang Xianling, Gao Shilian, Wei Ting, Wen, Ling Hu Defen, Yu Shinan, and the others. In the 12th year of Jingguan, the clan annals had been completed. 293 surnames, 1,651 families had basically followed Li Er's instructions. The royal family was the leader, followed by the relatives, and Bo Lingcui was demoted to the 3rd class. However, at that time, the people did not recognize Li Er's new revision of the clan annals. The status of the nobles in Shandong was still higher than the royal family. Now, Li Er had started the work of revising the clan annals in advance. The final result was very likely to be different from the original result in history. This old subject will follow the imperial edict and do my best to rewrite the clan annals. After hearing Li Er's order, Fang Xianling was stunned for a long time. When he reacted, he hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. The removal of 2 surnames and 3 sects meant that from today onwards, there were only 3 surnames and 4 views in the world. Moreover, it was the 3 surnames and 4 views led by the Li royal family. Such a major event would definitely shake the world. The hearts of the officials trembled. Li Er had only ascended the throne for 2 years, yet he was already able to have such political and martial art skills. Those officials who still wanted to climb up the ranks of the aristocratic families had no choice but to think carefully in their hearts. After the morning court, Li Er ordered people to post the notice of the great victory in Guangxing County in Chang City. When the people saw it, they all rushed to spread the news. The news that the Cui family of Qinghe, the Zheng family of Xingyang, and the Cui family of Bowling rebelled and were all destroyed by Li Jing spread throughout Chang and city in a very short time like a gust of wind, and it was still quickly spreading to the surrounding counties. The Cui family of Qinghe, the Zheng family of Xingyang, and the Cui family of Bowling were all destroyed? These are all 1,000-year-old aristocratic families. How could they be gone just like that? Yes, in the past, from the officials to the people, it was the highest honor to marry the daughter of the 5 surnames, especially the daughter of the Cui family. Even the prime minister wanted to marry her, but he couldn't get her. But now that the Cui family has fallen, the daughter of the Cui family will probably be sent to the musical house, right? Humph. I think the Cui family and the Zheng family deserve it, especially the Cui family. Last year, you all know the mistress of the Cui family, Wang, right? That evil woman made the servants in the mansion into human swine. How vicious is that? If it wasn't for some kind-hearted person who exposed this matter, I think Wang would still be at large in her heart. That's right. The Cui family is not only rich, but also cruel. It's better to destroy such an aristocratic family as soon as possible. Now, who will be proud of marrying a daughter of the 5 surnames? In my opinion, the best way to earn a lifetime of glory and wealth is to enter Yinhuang College, or marry the daughter of the Marquis of Yong. The Marquis of Yong, and is a new noble in the imperial court. He has money, power, influence, and ability. He will definitely have a bright future. Although the Marquis of Yong and got married last year, he doesn't have any children now, let alone a daughter. Who do you want to marry? Hey, what are you afraid of? Doesn't the Marquis of Yong and have a sister who hasn't been married yet? Even if he can't be a son-in-law, he could be a brother-in-law. Bah, you despicable bastard. The sister of the Marquis of Yong and hasn't even reached marriageable age, and you want to marry her? Shameless. That's right. Even if she has reached marriageable age, it won't be your turn. The Marquis of Yong and is talented in both civil and military affairs. He will only choose a handsome and elegant man like me as his brother-in-law. Bah, Qin Chengfeng, you are even more shameless. Far away in Cloud Mountain, Li Zixuan, who didn't care about worldly affairs, would never have thought that trouble would fall from the sky while he was sitting at home. Moreover, if he knew what the common people were talking about, he would definitely vomit 3 liters of blood because of these ancient people's ability to change the topic. They were clearly talking about the imperial court's rebellion and the annihilation of the 3 aristocratic families. But why did they end up talking about him? Li Zixuan, looking for a brother-in-law. This ability to change the topic was too scary, right? Brother, when is Iron Egg coming back? Lan who didn't know that she had become the best daughter-in-law in the common people's mouths, hurriedly asked when she saw Li Zixuan coming back. Li Zixuan smiled and patted the little girl's head, saying, "What is it? Lan why are you looking for Iron Egg?" Lan pushed away Li Zixuan's big hand on her head. She felt that Li Zixuan's action was treating her like a child, which was disrespectful to her. The little girl frowned and said, "Nothing much. It's just that I went to the academy to play recently, but there was no Iron Egg, so it was very boring. Brother Chonyo only knows how to bully Lan. Brother, just tell Lan when Iron Egg is coming back." After saying that, the little girl pouted proudly, looking very cute. Li Zixuan heard this and felt helpless. With Ching Chumo's bad temper, if he didn't tease Lan he would probably feel uncomfortable all over. Iron Egg has already left Zhengzhou with the army today, and he should be back in 6 or 7 days. Lan don't worry. Big brother will show you something fun. Lan eyes lit up, and she immediately became interested. She asked excitedly, "What is it?" Li Zixuan smiled and said, "Hee, I can't tell you now, but you'll know when the time comes. Stinky brother, you're still keeping me in suspense." Yamacho, His Majesty has gone to the academy. You should go quickly." In the afternoon, Li Zixuan was sunbathing in the front yard when Mo Zhong suddenly rushed to the door and said. Li Zixuan quickly got up and said, "Okay, I'll go over now." No matter what, Yamacho Li Zixuan was the most powerful person in this land. When he came to Yinhuang College, Li Zixuan, as the Yamacho, had to be present, just like a leader inspecting his work. Half an hour later, Li Zixuan arrived at Yinhuang College. After asking about Li Er's current location, he quickly followed him. Old Li was now in the corridor outside Class 1's classroom. It seemed like he was secretly listening to the teacher's lecture inside. Li Zixuan was just about to bow when Li Er waved his hand to stop him, as if he had eyes behind his head. Li Zixuan understood what Li Er meant, so he didn't say anything. Thus, a dean of Yinhuang College and a Yamacho of Yinhuang College actually leaned on the window outside the classroom and did the shady business of eavesdropping on the teacher's lecture. This class was physics. Class 1's physics class was originally taught by Mo Huai, but Mo Huai was now busy with the construction of the dam and couldn't leave at all. Therefore, all of Mo Huai's affairs in the academy were temporarily handed over to Mo Chue. This person was also the focus of Mo Huai's training and was very likely to be the next Mo family big son. A while ago, Li Zixuan had secretly tested Mo Chue's ability and found that whether it was his grasp of physics or his ability to lecture in class, This young man was basically on par with MOY. Based on this, Li Zixuan gradually relaxed. When school started, all of you must have seen Yamacho personally demonstrate the telegraph machine. You only know that the telegraph machine is very magical and can transmit messages from far away. But do you know why it can transmit messages? What does it rely on to transmit messages? Before you understand this, you must first understand a phenomenon: electromagnetism. Yes, you didn't hear wrong, electromagnetism. First of all, you should have seen magnets before. Yamacho's compass used a magnetic needle under the effect of the Earth's magnetic field. The magnetic needle's south pole points to the north pole of the Earth's magnetic field to achieve the function of indicating direction. This is called magnetism. As for electricity, Yamacho's telegraph machine previously relied on electricity to drive it. Electricity and magnetism are two different things, but who would have thought that the two could be converted to each other under special conditions? Well, not only did you not think of it, but I also didn't understand it. But Yamacho thought of it. To be honest, sometimes I'm also very curious about how Yamacho's brain can store so many novel things. Just a bit of the knowledge in his brain is probably something that others can study for a lifetime without being able to understand. Okay, back to the topic. In this lesson, I'll show you how electricity can be converted into magnetic fields. The current teaching progress of the Academy had reached the electromagnetism section. Mo Chue stood on the podium and spoke with fervor and assurance. He did not notice the two big bosses eavesdropping outside the window. His lecture was serious and not humorous, and it was very attractive to listen to. Come with me. After some time, Li Zixuan was already immersed in the content of Mo Chue's lecture. Li Er, who was beside him, said in a low voice, "Yes, Your Majesty." Chapter 1341. Marquis Yong, and, if I didn't hear wrongly, that Mr. was explaining the principles of the telegraph to the students. Arriving at the conference room on the first floor of Guanghua Building, Li Er gestured for Li Zixuan to close the door. Then, he looked at Li Zixuan and asked. Li Zixuan didn't know what Li Er meant by this question, but he still replied truthfully, "Your Majesty, what Mr. Mo said before was only the most basic theoretical knowledge used in the telegraph." The most basic knowledge? What's wrong with the most basic knowledge? If these most basic knowledge were to be learned by foreigners, wouldn't they also be able to create the telegraph? Li Er mercilessly interrupted Li Zixuan's words. His face was gloomy as he said, "I let you establish Yanhuang College to open the minds of the people and promote engineering. I didn't let you leak the military secrets of the Tang Empire. The telegraph is the highest military secret of the Tang Empire, but you so easily revealed its principles to the public. Have you considered the consequences?" This time, the imperial court sent troops to Zhengzhou. Before Cui Junshuo attacked Luoyang, they completed the encirclement of Guangxing County in time. Then, during the siege, Li Jing and Lu Ringue worked together to break into the city without expending a single soldier. What do they rely on? You should know better than me. You can imagine, if the technology of the telegraph fell into the hands of the enemy, how much trouble would it bring to the Tang Empire? As the Yamacho of Yanhuang College, why didn't you think of this? Li Er blabbered on and on, not giving Li Zixuan a chance to interrupt. It could be seen that he was quite angry now. It was because of the recent war that Li Er saw the importance of the telegraph in the military. So he had such a big reaction now. Li Zixuan saw that Li Er had finally finished speaking, so he quickly took the opportunity to say, "Your Majesty, knowing the principle of the telegraph machine and making it are two completely different things. It's like everyone knows that food is grown from the ground, but does everyone know how to grow the ground? Of course not. I'm introducing these things to the students in the physics textbook so that they can understand the characteristics of things in this world and broaden their horizons. This way, they can create more valuable things in the future. Even a wise man would make a mistake. Although this official is proficient in engineering, this official's strength is limited after all. This official needs many successors of engineering to help this official overcome more technical difficulties. If this official blindly cherishes what he knows, once this official gets old or dies, engineering will quickly decline and there will be no successor. Li Zixuan felt that he needed to explain the gap between theory and practice to old Li, and at the same time change old Li's long-held beliefs. This question was actually very simple. In modern times, it could be said that 90% of college students and even high school students knew how the telegraph worked. But did they know how to make a telegraph? Obviously, it was impossible. Among the 90% of the students, it would already be good if 5% of them could make a telegraph. Another example would be the atomic bomb and hydrogen bomb. Many people knew the explosion principle of the atomic bomb and hydrogen bomb. One was nuclear fission, and the other was nuclear fusion. However, with so many people knowing the principle, why were there so few countries in the world that possessed nuclear weapons? There was a huge gap between theory and practice. It was impossible for a person who knew the principle to understand everything in practice. These were two completely different things. Li Er's expression became slightly better. He said doubtfully, "According to what you said, even if all this knowledge was leaked to foreign countries, our enemies would still find it difficult to imitate the telegraph." Li Zixuan cupped his hands and replied, "Your Majesty, that is indeed the case. Even if they have figured out how to make a telegraph machine, by that time, we may have already produced an even more advanced telegraph machine with a longer transmission distance and a more stable message transmission. Moreover, although this is the case, this knowledge is unique to our Tang Empire. Currently, only the students of Yinhuan College have the qualifications to learn it. This official will also instruct them to keep it secret. Even if the students outside or the envoys of other countries enter the academy, they will not be able to learn this knowledge. Your Majesty's words today can be considered as a reminder to this official. In the future, this official will strengthen the education and punishment of the students of the academy. In the future, Yinhuan College's enrollment will focus on whether the students are patriotic. This will prevent evil people from sneaking into the academy and stealing knowledge. This official will quickly come up with a regulation for these things and then hand it over to Mr. Kong Gui and Mr. Wenji to strictly implement it. This will further prevent the teachers and students of the academy from leaking the academy's knowledge." Li Er's expression finally improved. He nodded and said, "That's more like it. Yinhuan College will definitely be an important tool of the country in the future. This emperor will pay attention to it. Don't play dumb with this emperor. You must also pay attention to the management of the academy." Although Yinhuan College had only been established for less than a year and had not fully blossomed, Li Er could already see the importance of Yinhuan College to the Tang Empire's national strength. This official obeys. Li Zixuan cupped his hands and said. Li Er waved his hand and said seriously, "All right, let's get down to business. We came here today because we have something to discuss with you." Li Zixuan was puzzled and said, "Your Majesty, please speak." Li Er pondered for a moment and slowly said, "This time, in resolving the crisis of Luoyang and taking down Guan City, the telegraph played an extremely important role. The situation on the battlefield is constantly changing. The commander behind the enemy needs the latest news from the front lines, and the soldiers at the front lines need the latest orders from the commander. The telegraph perfectly solved all the problems. This thing is simply a divine tool for military formation communication. The apothecary mentioned to this emperor in his report that he wants to fully implement the telegraph in the army. This emperor feels that the apothecary's words are very reasonable. Therefore, firstly, the telegraph that the army needs, marquee and see if you can think of a way to create another batch. Secondly, no one in the army knows how to use the telegraph. Either you let your students teach the soldiers how to use the telegraph, or you can directly send a batch of students into the army to take charge of the telegraph. What do you think?" When Li Zixuan heard this, he frowned slightly. He did not expect Li Er to be in such a hurry to promote the telegraph. The problem was that the telegraph was still in the experimental stage. If they wanted to use it on a large scale, there were still many problems that needed to be solved. "Your Majesty, the current telegraph technology is still not mature. This official suggests that your majesty wait a few more days for the academy to improve the telegraph before promoting it to the army. You must not be too hasty. Li Zishuan cupped his hands and said. Lier said somewhat unwillingly. The immature you are talking about should be referring to the telegraph's transmission distance not being far enough, right? However, there's already a solution. In this Guan City rebellion, Liu was at the top of Songyue Temple's pagoda, and Meng Wenhao was on the fairy lamp. They were able to transmit information to Chang, more than 400 miles away. This is already enough. At most, when the army goes to war in the future, we can bring a few more fairy lamps with us. Li Zishuan shook his head and said, Your Majesty, using a telegraph to send a telegram from a high place can increase the transmission distance. But there is also a limit. With our current telegraph, this official estimates that 400 miles is very likely to be the limit. Any further, and it might not work. Moreover, if we need to climb to a very high fairy lamp every time we send a telegram, it will be very disadvantageous for the army's concealment. If our army needs to sneak behind the enemy, what should we do? Do we have to raise a fairy lamp? Wouldn't that be telling the enemy the location of our army? Therefore, this official hopes that your Majesty will give this official some more time. When the time comes, the telegraph that has been modified by the Academy will not only be able to transmit messages further, but it will also only need to be sent on flat ground when sending a telegram. This kind of telegraph is more suitable to be promoted in the army. When Lier heard this, his expression could not help but change. He asked uncertainly, Can this kind of telegraph really be made? Absolutely. Li Zishuan replied with certainty. Lier nodded and said, Good. Then how long do you need? Li Zishuan thought for a moment and replied, At least half a year, at most a year, because the modification of the telegraph needs to search for and refine a few special materials. This official cannot give your Majesty a very precise time. Lier did not ask Li Zishuan what materials he needed, because he knew that it was useless to ask. He definitely did not have them. Otherwise, Li Zishuan would have directly borrowed them from him instead of painstakingly searching for them. Therefore, Lier directly said, This emperor knows that you have sent people to search for all kinds of mineral veins. In the future, as long as it is useful for making a telegraph, this emperor can give it to you no matter what kind of mineral it is. If you don't have enough people to search for mineral veins, this emperor can also allocate some people to you. If this emperor remembers correctly, there are two brothers in the imperial army. Their ancestors were Taoist sorcerers who specialized in searching for Longdiangshu. Although these two did not learn the family skills, they have been to most places in the Tang Empire. If you need people to search for mineral veins, this emperor can send them to follow you and help you search for useful mineral veins all over the world. Yes, Your Majesty, to be honest, this official does not lack anything right now, but I lack people. When Li Zishuan heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. When he sent off Fu to Sichuan to search for vanadium, or he was thinking that he should form a team that specialized in searching for mineral veins. However, he had not been able to find the appropriate talents. He did not expect Old Li to directly send him warmth today. This warmth was sent at the right time. Lier could not help but smile and said, All right, this emperor will let them come to you when the time comes. These two people are called Lu Feng and Lu Yan. Other than being experienced and knowledgeable, their martial arts are also not bad. In the future, after they help you search for mineral veins, they will stay behind to be your guards. You and Yanwang College are important to the Tang Empire. You cannot have any mishaps. Li Zishuan was stunned when he heard this. He quickly waved his hand and said, Your Majesty, this cannot be done. Absolutely cannot be done. The two of them are imperial guards. How can they be my guards? Your Majesty, please retract your order. Previously, when Pang Feiji searched for the whereabouts of the four ghosts of Tai Bai for several months to no avail, Li Zishuan had thought of expanding a group of guards. Although he was indeed lacking guards, he could not use the imperial army as his guards. One had to know that the imperial army was equivalent to the emperor's personal guards. If they were to be his guards, it would be taboo. No matter. You just need to improve the telegraph machine as soon as possible. If this is done, I will guarantee Yanhuan College's glory and glory for generations to come. Lier waved his hand and said without allowing any objection. After that, he did not wait for Li Zixuan's reaction and left directly. Chapter 1342. After Lier left, Li Zixuan immediately asked someone to invite Yin Silu and Li Gang. Then, a meeting was held in the conference room. The content of the meeting was mainly about what he had just said to Lier about strengthening the confidentiality management of the academy. From today onwards, Yanhuan College will set up a confidentiality work leading group to take charge of all matters related to the academy's confidentiality. I will personally be the leader, and Mr. Kong Gui and Mr. Wenji will be the deputy leaders. Inside the academy, except for the economics department, the teaching and experimental places of the other departments are classified as confidential places. Non-students and teachers of the academy are not allowed to enter. In addition, manuscripts and books that contain sensitive technical information are classified as confidential carriers and must be kept by special personnel. Depending on the importance of the content, they can be divided into 3 levels: confidential, confidential, and top secret. Confidential and top secret carriers are not allowed to be taken out of the academy. If anyone is found to have taken them out without authorization, they will be expelled from the academy and sent to the Supreme Court. As for the classification system of confidential carriers, as well as the assessment and punishment system for strengthening the confidentiality education of students, I will list out a very detailed regulation in a few days. At that time, the 2 of you can directly follow it. We must let the students remember that keeping the academy's secrets must be the top priority at all times. No matter how outstanding the person is or how much contribution he or she has made to the academy, it will be useless. He or she will receive the most severe punishment from Yanhuan College and the Supreme Court. Li Gang and Yin Silu were extremely surprised and opened their mouths. At first, they thought Li Zixuan was just talking casually. They never expected that Li Zixuan would come up with such a detailed and comprehensive confidentiality system. Obviously, he had a well-thought-out plan. Although they had never heard of some of the terms in it before, they felt that the whole system was perfect after listening to it. Anyway, Li Gang was confident that he could write all kinds of articles, but he really couldn't write about a confidentiality system. Since His Majesty personally ordered it, the 2 of us naturally have no objections. Moreover, Yamacho, your arrangements are extremely reasonable. After you have written the confidentiality system, I and Kong Gui will start to implement it in the academy. Li Gang nodded in agreement. Li Zixuan smiled and said, as the saying goes, if you want to wear a crown, you have to bear its weight. Since Yanhuan College was founded on engineering, and the teachers and students in the college study the most advanced engineering knowledge in the world every day, they have the obligation to keep the college's secrets. I'm sorry that I've caused trouble for the 2 of you again. Sorry for the trouble. In fact, he didn't come up with this system by himself. In his previous life, he had a senior who entered a military confidential unit after graduation. Every once in a while, they would have a confidential exam, and the content was similar to what he had just said. Most of these were things he had heard from his senior brother in his previous life. In the evening, the 2 helpers that Li Zixuan was going to assign to Li Zixuan finally arrived at Yinshan Villa. It wasn't just 2 people who came, but a group of people. There were a total of 15 people. Of the 2 people in the lead, one was about 30 years old. He had a square face and wasn't ugly. Coupled with his beard, he was a very charming middle-aged man. If it was in his previous life, he might have been able to charm some infatuated girls. The younger one was about 24 or 25 years old. He had a delicate face, but his facial features were sharp, and there was a sense of arrogance between his eyebrows. Li Zixuan looked at the 2 people from head to toe. The 2 people opposite him were also secretly looking at him. After a while, the 2 quickly bowed and saluted. Greetings, Marquis. I'm Lu Feng, Lu Yun, and I'm here to serve Marquis. Li Zixuan nodded and said, there's no need for the 2 generals to be so polite. His Majesty clearly said that he would only send the 2 of you. Why did so many people come? Lu Feng clasped his fist and said, Marquis, these are my brothers in the Imperial Guards. Searching for the mineral vein requires a lot of manpower. I requested for an imperial edict and brought all of them here. When Li Zishuan heard this, he smiled and nodded. Since that's the case, you guys can stay in Yinshan Villa for the time being. As for searching for the mineral vein, I'll arrange for you guys to go in a few days. Just as he finished speaking, Li Zishuan struck out like lightning. With a hand knife, he chopped towards Lu Feng's neck. Lu Feng was obviously caught off guard. In the blink of an eye, he retreated while crossing his arms in front of his neck, forcibly blocking Li Zishuan's chop. Bang! The two of them separated immediately upon contact. Lu Feng was directly pushed back 10 steps. Lu Yun, who was beside him, was anxious. He swung his fist towards Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan smiled and grabbed Lu Yun's wrist unhurriedly. With a Tai Chi push, he borrowed the force of Lu Yun's attack. Lu Yun immediately lost his balance and almost fell to the ground. However, Lu Yun was no ordinary person. He quickly regained his balance, turned around, and with a black tiger steals the heart, he threw a punch at Li Zishuan's chest. Li Zishuan's body slightly arched back. True Qi instantly gathered in his chest muscles. Then he straightened his chest. Like a fully drawn bow that was released, his true Qi borrowed the rebound force and directly rushed towards Lu Yun's punch. Bang! With another loud sound, Lu Yun was sent flying without any suspense. When the rest of the Imperial Guards saw that their general was attacked, they subconsciously wanted to pull out their swords to help. However, the person opposite them was a Marquis. How could they help? Just as they were hesitating, Lu Feng shouted, Lu Yun, stop! Don't be rude to Marquis. After saying that, he strode towards Li Zishuan and clasped his fist. Thank you, Marquis, for showing mercy. My second brother did not know etiquette and offended Marquis. I hope Marquis can forgive him. Lu Yun saw this and quickly understood that Li Zishuan was just testing the martial arts of the two brothers. Hence, he quickly came over to apologize. Marquis, I have offended you. Please punish me, Marquis. Li Zishuan waved his hand and said with a smile, All right, get up. Just now, this Marquis was just itching for a fight and wanted to exchange pointers with you. It can't be considered as offending your superiors. The two generals have excellent skills. Not bad, not bad. Lu Feng was convinced and said, I have long heard that Marquis is the youngest grandmaster in Tang. If Marquis did not deliberately show mercy, I am afraid that I would not have been able to block that blow. Marquis has great merit. I, Lu Feng, am impressed. Lu Yun also looked at Li Zishuan with a fanatical expression and clasped his fist. Thank you, Marquis, for showing mercy. Li Zishuan smiled and said, The two of you don't need to be so modest. With your strength, I'm sure you're among the best in the Imperial Army. All right, go pack up and stay on Cloud Mountain. Yes, Marquis. Lu Feng and Lu Yun accepted the order and left. Li Zishuan looked at the backs of the two brothers and smiled slightly. One was in the late stage of Qi transformation, and the other was in the middle stage of Qi transformation. Lier had really sent him two strong helpers. In the next 2 days, Li Zishuan was busy drafting the confidentiality rules for the academy and also took time to go to the workshop. It seemed that he was doing something. On the morning of the third day, Song Xiaoxi suddenly came to report, Young Master, Ink Girl asked you to go to the workshop. She said that she has finished the modification. Finished the modification. That meant that the microscope had an additional light path to increase the brightness of the field of vision. Li Zishuan heard Song Xiaoxi and immediately understood what Mo Lingwei meant. He called Lan over and said, Lan, do you remember 2 days ago that I told you that I would bring you to see something good? Lan Er's eyes lit up and she said excitedly, Yes, yes. Brother, can you bring me to see that thing now? Li Zishuan nodded and said, Ha. Lan Er guessed right. Let's go, follow me to workshop. The little girl was used to being wild. Hearing this, she immediately cheered and said, Okay. Lana wants to go to the workshop with brother. Han Yushi, who came out after hearing the noise, looked at the siblings helplessly. Li Zishuan invited, Wife, do you want to go together? This is something that I have never seen before. Han Yushi smiled and said, "Husband, you could go with Lan? I still have to go to Chang and City later. There are some things that I need to deal with at the Warm Tang Foundation." Li Zixuan heard this and did not insist. He took his little sister out and went to the workshop at the bottom of the Cloud Mountain. "Yamacho, you're finally here. Aye, Alana, you're here too?" In the workshop, in the laboratory from before, Li Zixuan pushed the door open and entered. Mo Lingwei came up to him and greeted the siblings. Lanner giggled and quickly stuck to Mo Lingwei's side. Li Zixuan nodded and said, "Okay." Then, he looked at the microscope on the table. Compared to the last time, the microscope today had an additional light path that guided light from the outside and reflected light to the stage. Li Zixuan glanced at it briefly and quickly simulated the path of the light path in his mind with his strong mental strength. It was just a subconscious operation, but he couldn't help but be shocked because the scene in his mind was exactly like the computer in his previous life running ZMAX, a very famous light path simulation software. He could clearly see the path and details of the light path in every part of the light path. This ability was just like how he could simulate all kinds of mechanical structures in his mind before. Now, it seemed that his strong mental strength could not only be used to simulate mechanical structures. In fact, it was like a supercomputer installed in the brain. It could simulate any kind of complicated calculation, three-dimensional modeling, and all kinds of mathematical or physical models. It was really amazing. "Young master, these are the glass slides you made a few days ago." At this moment, Song Xiaoxi came. When he entered the workshop, Li Zixuan had asked him to get something. That's right, it was the slides and cover slips that were necessary for the microscope to observe the samples. "Okay, give them to me." Chapter 1343. 2 in 1 chapter. "Yamacho, why did you ask someone to bring the glass sheets over?" Mo Lingwei asked curiously when she saw Song Xiaoxi bring over a box of glass sheets. Li Zixuan smiled and said, "Ink girl, these glass sheets are used to store objects under observation. Think about it. If the sunlight shines from below and the object is placed in another container, how can the light pass through?" Mo Lingwei nodded thoughtfully and said, Yamacho is right. Then what is Yamacho planning to use this microscope to look at today?" "To look at the water. To see what is in the water that we usually drink," Li Zixuan said with a smile. Then he turned around and ordered, "Xiaoxi, bring me a bowl of clear river water." The diameter of the bacteria in the river was generally about 5 microns. The microscope made by Mo Lingwei had a magnification of 400 times, which meant that it could magnify the bacteria to about 2 millimeters. A human eye could see at least 0.2 millimeters, so, with this microscope, it was possible to see the bacteria in the river. What's more, other than bacteria, there are also some parasites in the river. These parasites are much bigger than bacteria. "Yes, young master." Song Xiaoxi nodded and left to carry out the order. But he was a little confused. "Look at the water? What's there to look at? It's cool and clear. What can be in it?" Although he was thinking this, Song Xiaoxi still walked to the cafeteria of the workshop. The new workshop now has more than 1,000 permanent employees. Of course, there is a staff cafeteria. The workers in the cafeteria will bring back water from the Bar River every morning and fill the cafeteria's water tank. So Song Xiaoxi doesn't need to go to the river. He only needs to come here to get water. "Oh, Brother C, why are you here?" Song Xiaoxi had just walked into the courtyard where the dining hall was located when a servant came up to him with a fawning smile. Although Song Xiaoxi was just a servant in the workshop, the servants were also divided into ranks. Song Xiaoxi served Faubert every day and could also see Li Zixuan often. How could an ordinary servant compare to him? "Ahem, I'm just here for a bowl of water. You can go about your business, Tycoon." Song Xiaoxi understood that Li Zixuan and Mo Lingwei's microscope should not be revealed to outsiders yet. After being by Faubert's side for so long, he still had a sense of secrecy. Therefore, he casually made up an excuse and planned to go in and get the water himself. It just so happened that he was feeling a little thirsty. The manservant named Daheng hurriedly said, "Hey, fourth brother, wait here. I'll go boil some water for you." Song Xiaoxi quickly grabbed Tycoon and said, "No need. I like cold drinks. I say, you brat, hurry up and do your own things. Don't delay things, otherwise, chef, you will scold you again. Oh, then, fourth brother, I'll go back to work. Tycoon heard this and could only go back to washing the vegetables. Song Xiaoxi went to the kitchen and took a porcelain bowl. He scooped a bowl of water from the water tank under the shed outside the house and poured a bowl of water into his stomach first. Then, he scooped another bowl of water and muttered to himself, "Sigh, today's weather is really hot. No, I have to scoop another bowl of water to take home." After that, he walked out of the courtyard leisurely. Tycoon, who was in the courtyard, looked at the sun in the sky and asked curiously, "Is it hot today? It's not hot, right? Why does fourth brother feel hot?" Young master, the water is here." After a while, Song Xiaoxi came back with a bowl of water and returned to Mo Lingwei's laboratory. Li Zixuan took the water and walked to the table. He asked Mo Lingwei for a pair of white gloves and used a latex dropper to drip the water from the bowl onto the glass slide. Then, he used a pair of tweezers to cover the glass slide. Speaking of which, the laboratory in this world had some basic tools such as gloves, tweezers, droppers, and test tubes. In terms of facilities, this was the most advanced laboratory in the whole of Tang Dynasty. However, in modern times, this laboratory could not even be compared to a high school chemistry laboratory. Li Zixuan placed the glass slide that contained the river water on the microscope stage. After adjusting the position, he fixed it with a clamp. Luckily, it's a sunny day today. At this time, Mo Lingwei smiled and handed Song Xiaoxi a mirror. Then, she ordered, "Xiaoxi, take this divine mirror and stand behind the door. When the sunlight comes in, it has to shine on this mirror. Understand?" As she spoke, she pointed to a mirror on the table and said, "Look at the mirror." "Okay, Xiaoxi understands." Song Xiaoxi replied and walked to the door with the mirror. After a while, a ray of sunlight shone into the room. Song Xiaoxi carefully adjusted the angle and reflected the sunlight on the mirror that Mo Lingwei pointed at earlier. "Okay, Xiaoxi, stand still," Mo Lingwei shouted. Then, she squatted down and started to fiddle with the mirrors on the table. She mainly adjusted the angle of the mirrors so that the sunlight could shine on the bottom of the microscope. "Okay, it's done." Li Zixuan's left, I was in front of the eyepiece. When he saw the light in his field of vision, he quickly said. Then, his right hand started to twist the screw next to the microscope to adjust the distance between the objective lens and the glass slide. Gradually, the blurry light in his field of vision became clearer and clearer. In the end, there were many different shapes in his field of vision. Some of them were even moving. Li Zixuan was very happy. He quickly said, Okay, we can see the things in the river. Ink Girl, come and take a look." "Wow, really? Really? Let me see." Hearing this, Mo Lingwei rushed to the front of the microscope. She moved her eyes closer and saw many moving black spots in the light. Some of the moving black spots were bigger and looked like squirming maggots. Mo Lingwei was shocked. "Yamacho, what are those things? Where do they come from?" Mo Lingwei left the microscope and asked Li Zixuan. Of course they came from the water. You saw just now. The glass slide only had a drop of water that little force sent over. Li Zixuan said with a smile. "They came from the water? Doesn't that mean that in the water that we usually drink, there are many of those tiny little bugs?" When Mo Lingwei heard this, his face turned green. Luckily, he didn't eat in the morning. Otherwise, he would have vomited his breakfast. "Sister Weyer, what little bugs?" Lana wants to see too. Lana listened for a long time and became interested. She quickly pulled Mo Lingwei's arm and asked eagerly. Mo Lingwei looked at the little girl sympathetically and asked, "Lana, you really want to see?" "Yes, of course I want to see." Lana nodded without hesitation. Okay, then I'll bring you to see." Mo Lingwei laughed mischievously. Then, she moved a stool and said, "Lana, come, stand on this." The table where the microscope was placed was quite high. With Lana's height, she couldn't reach it. Li Zixuan saw all this, but he didn't stop her. At this moment, he took a stand from the side and walked out of the room. He said to Song Xiaoxi, Let me hold this mirror. Xiaoxi, go to Yinshan Mountain and see if Priest Sun, Professor Wang, and Professor Qin are there. If they are, invite them here. Tell them that the workshop has made a magical instrument that can see tiny things. Song Xiaoxi quickly replied, Yes. Young master, Xiaoxi will go now. Li Zixuan took the mirror and placed it on the stand. Then, he adjusted the angle of the mirror slightly. Mo Lingwei said, It's done. Yamacho. Li Zixuan nodded. When he was about to go in, he realized that Song Xiaoxi hadn't left yet. He couldn't help but ask, Xiaoxi, is there anything else? Song Xiaoxi scratched his head and said embarrassedly, young master, just now Professor Mo said that there were bugs in the river. But when I brought it over, I didn't see anything in the water. In fact, he was panicking because he had just drunk a bowl of cold water a few minutes ago. Li Zixuan found it funny and said, Those bugs can't be seen with the naked eye. You can only see them with a microscope inside. Why? Xiaoxi, do you want to see them too? Last year, when they were testing the telegraph machine, Song Xiaoxi ran back and forth until he got a heat stroke. Li Zixuan had a good impression of him. Okay. Song Xiaoxi's eyes were fixed on the inside. When he heard that, he subconsciously responded. Then, he quickly reacted and waved his hands. No. This is something that young master and Professor Mo made. Xiaoxi is just a servant. How can I see it? Young master, Xiaoxi will go to Yinshan now. Stop. Li Zixuan grabbed Song Xiaoxi and frowned. What's servant, master? If I tell you to go take a look, then go take a look. Go in. You can go to Yinshan after you see it. After that, he walked in. Inside, Launer had finished looking at the river on the glass slide. The little girl's face was pale as she squatted by the side and retched. Wah. Launer drank water in the morning. There are bugs in Launer's stomach. Woo-woo. Mo Lingwei giggled at the side. She was gloating. Ha! Launer, you were the one who wanted to see it. You can't blame sister. Li Zixuan ignored the two girls. He said to Song Xiaoxi, See for yourself. Look at the cylinder above, and you'll be able to see what's in the river. Yes. Thank you, young master. Song Xiaoxi obeyed and placed his eyes above the eyepiece of the microscope. Suddenly, a very beautiful image appeared in front of his eyes. There were moving little black dots and wriggling little black lines. This image was so beautiful that he didn't dare to look down. Young master, were those moving black dots and black lines? Song Xiaoxi took 2 steps back and looked at Li Zixuan in fear. Oh, this is a bug, but it is also not a bug. Go and get Priest Sun here first. I will tell you later. Li Zixuan did not explain immediately. If he did, he would have to explain again when Sun Simiao and the rest arrived. Oh. Song Xiaoxi answered in a panic and ran out. After about half an hour, footsteps and Sun Simiao's laughter came from outside the door. Ha! Xiaoxian has finally made the thing that he promised me. Today I will open my eyes. His voice was heard before he arrived. Then Sun Simiao walked in with Hu Jingyao, Professor Wang, Professor Qin, and the rest. Without waiting for Li Zixuan to greet him, Sun Simiao's eyes had already locked onto the microscope on the table. With an excited expression, he asked, Little Xian, is this the tool that you told this poor Taoist before that can see tiny things? Li Zixuan replied, That's right. I call a microscope. I used it to observe the river. Priest Sun, you can take a look at it. Microscope? That's a good name. Sun Simiao praised, and then said impatiently, Little Xian, please teach this poor Taoist how to use this microscope. No problem. Li Zixuan smiled and followed Sun Simiao to the microscope. Under his guidance, Sun Simiao finally saw the world in the drop of water. Is this really just a drop of water? How can there be so many living things in the water? Sun Simiao had traveled extensively in his life. What had he not seen? Moreover, he was already past the age where he would make a fuss about nothing. However, when he saw the world in the drop of water, he could not help but take 2 steps back and exclaim, Priest Sun, this is really just a drop of water. Look, it's the drop of water that we took out from that bowl. Li Zixuan pointed at the bowl of water next to the table and said. Sun Simiao turned his head and looked at it. He cannot believe it. The water is so clear, but why can I see so many living things in it with a microscope? Let me take a look too. Professor Wang and Professor Qin could not hold back their curiosity. They rushed to the side of the microscope and put their eyes next to the eyepiece. After they saw it, they were shocked. Yamacho, what are those black dots and black lines in the water? Why do they look like living things? Professor Qin stroked his beard and asked in a low voice. Everyone looked over, including the pale-faced Song Xiaoxi. Li Zixuan smiled faintly and said, Dr. Qin, although the river looks clear, it contains a lot of things. There are dead things, and there are also living things. The living things that I call the most are bacteria. These bacteria are very small, but how small are they? Let's put it this way. Do you think our hair is thin? Professor Wang nodded and said, Of course, our hair is very thin. Li Zixuan smiled and continued, but this type of bacteria is not even 1/10 of the diameter of a hair. Do you think we can see it with our naked eyes? Of course, other than bacteria, there's something bigger. I call it a parasite. Once it enters the human body, it will live in the human body. It is very difficult to digest and expel it. Some of these parasites can make people sick and even die. Sun Simiao heard and could not help but sigh. There are so many living things in a drop of water. The Buddhists have a saying, a flower, a world, a leaf, a Bodhi. It seems that it is true. Ugh! Song Xiaoxi, who was next to him, rolled his eyes and fainted. Chapter 1344. Young Master, I'm not dead. In Mo Lingwei's lab, Song Xiaoxi sat on a stool and slowly regained consciousness. He looked at Li Zixuan and the rest and asked in confusion. Li Zixuan pursed his lips. Although he was trying to stifle a laugh in his heart, he said in a bad mood, Die? What die? Priest's son, Professor Qin, and Professor Wang are all famous doctors. Do you think it's that easy for you to die? Song Xiaoxi was enlightened. He quickly stood up and saluted Priest's son and the rest. Thank you, Priest's son, Professor Qin, and Professor Wang for saving my life. This kid really thought that he had just walked through the gates of hell. Sun Simiao was a decent person. He was not like Li Zixuan, who had a bad heart. He waved his hand and laughed. You were just shocked and fainted. It's not a big deal. I didn't save you. You don't have to thank me. Huh? Song Xiaoxi was stunned. Wasn't he on the verge of death because he drank cold water and was invaded by parasites? Why did Sun Simiao say that he was just shocked? Wouldn't that be too embarrassing? At the thought of this, Song Xiaoxi's face turned as red as a monkey's butt. Young Master, Faubert should need help. I'll go over now. Song Xiaoxi lowered his head and said to Li Zixuan. Then he quickly ran away. Hey. Stop right there, Xiaoxi. Mo Lingwei quickly stopped Song Xiaoxi. She smiled and asked, Xiaoxi, what happened to you just now? Why did you faint? Song Xiaoxi turned around and scratched his head awkwardly. No, nothing, Professor Mo. Hee, nothing? If it's really nothing, why would a man like you faint? Tell me, Mo Lingwei said in disbelief. Well, Song Xiaoxi was at a loss for words. He did not know where to begin. Who had not spoken all this while, opened his mouth at this moment. Sister Wei, don't make things difficult for Xiaoxi anymore. I reckon that he should have been frightened by young master's words just now. Song Xiaoxi nodded and said, Yes. Young master said that there are parasites in the river that can kill people. When Xiaoxi brought young master some water, he was thirsty and drank a bowl. So I felt a little pain in my stomach just now. When I thought of what young master said, I thought I was going to die. Kikik. When Lana heard this, she was so happy that she couldn't stop giggling. Xiaoxi, my brother must have lied to you just now. Look at how scared you are. Lana also drank the water from the river when she was young. Wasn't she still fine? Although the little girl felt that the little bugs in the water were disgusting, she didn't think that drinking unboiled water would kill people. There are many people who drank unboiled water in this world. It had to be said that although Lan was young, her logical thinking ability was not weak at all. When Song Xiaoxi heard this, he said with a face full of surprise, Young master, is what Miss Lan said true? You were lying to us just now? Li Zishuan shook his head and said with a serious face, "Who said I was joking? There are parasites in the river that can really kill people. From what I know, some linear parasites, once they enter the human body, will reproduce in large numbers. Other than the human bones, they can't enter the brain, eyes, heart, liver, and so on. They can enter everything. Do you think it will be fatal?" When these words came out, everyone was shocked. Lan Er's little face was pale with fright. She said with tears in her eyes, "Brother, then did the water that Lan Er drank in the past have those parasites? Lan Er doesn't want my head to be full of bugs." Li Zishuan couldn't help but rub Lan Er's little head and comforted her softly. "Lan Er, don't cry. How can you encounter those parasites so easily? As long as Lan Er doesn't drink unboiled water in the future, nothing will happen. Lan Er won't drink unboiled water in the future." Lan Er heard and hurriedly promised. Actually, ever since the cholera in Chang and city last year, everyone in the Li family had stopped drinking unboiled water. But after today's incident, Lan Er probably wouldn't dare to touch unboiled water in the future. This was more effective than repeated warnings. "Young master, Xiaoxi also won't dare to drink unboiled water in the future." Song Xiaoxi also promised with a face full of fear. Li Zishuan nodded satisfactorily. Sun Simiao looked at him and asked, "Xiaoxian, you said that other than parasites, there are also bacteria in the water. What are bacteria? Are they harmful to the human body?" What he had seen and heard today had brought great shock to Sun Simiao, a doctor who had been practicing medicine all his life. It could be said that it was an eye-opener for him. He felt that the door to a new world was slowly opening up to him. Sun Simiao had studied medicine, pathology, and pharmacology his whole life. But from Li Zishuan's words, he could discover some new knowledge. Inside the room, Dr. Qin, Dr. Wang, and Hu Jingjing all looked at Li Zishuan at that moment. Li Zishuan thought for a moment and said, "From what I know, there are many types of bacteria. On one hand, bacteria are the source of many diseases, including tuberculosis, gonorrhea, anthrax, plague, trachoma, and other diseases. They're all caused by bacteria. On the other hand, there are also situations where we use bacteria. For example, when making wine, we use distiller's yeast. There are some bacteria that are beneficial to the human body. These bacteria can convert the sugar in the ingredients into alcohol. The more bacteria there are in distiller's yeast, the fuller the taste of the wine." Dr. Wang stroked his beard and said in amazement, "This is really a big world. There are all kinds of strange things. I've lived my whole life and thought that I'm knowledgeable. But today, I realize that I'm just a frog at the bottom of a well. But I'm a little curious. How did Yamacho know about these things?" "Ahem." Li Zishuan blushed and said hurriedly, "Well, this is what my master told me in the past. As for the truth, we'll have to wait for the students of Yanhuang College to verify it one by one. Speaking of which, isn't the medical school going to be established soon? Let's leave these questions to the future medical students. Master, you wouldn't mind having another title as a microbiologist, right?" Li Zishuan sighed in his heart. Dr. Wang didn't doubt him. He cupped his hands and said, "Don't worry, Mountain Elder. In the future, the medical students will definitely verify everything that Mountain Elder said." At this time, Sun Simiao closed his eyes as if he was sleepwalking and slowly walked out of the room without saying a word. "Hey, Priest Sun, where are you going?" Li Zishuan felt that something was wrong and quickly chased after him. "Master! Young master!" Hu Jingjing screamed and also chased after him. Everyone in the room looked at each other. Dr. Qin could not help but ask, "What's wrong with Dr. Sun?" Dr. Wang thought for a moment and said, "I think Dr. Sun must have been inspired by mountain head germ theory and wanted to use it to verify it with the medical theories we learned from medical books in the past. I think Dr. Sun's medical skills will have another breakthrough soon." Sun Simiao had hit the nail on the head. Although Li Zishuan's theory of bacterial pathogenesis was contrary to traditional Chinese medicine's theory of evil energy entering the body and harming people, Sun Simiao felt that the two seemed to have something in common. They could complement each other and corroborate each other. Now, Sun Simiao's mind had entered a state of war. He didn't even notice that Li Zixuan and who were calling out to him. That's enough. Don't shout anymore. Li Zixuan shouted twice and found that Sun Simiao did not move. He guessed that Sun Simiao might have entered a magical state similar to a martial artist's epiphany, so he stopped Hu Jingjing and said, Pre-Sun should be thinking about his medical theory now. Let's not disturb him. Let's quietly help him walk for a while. Just don't let him trip on a stone. Oh, okay, young master, Hu Jingjing responded. She grabbed Sun Simiao's right arm and began to carefully help Sun Simiao walk forward. Young master, I guess it must be the germ theory you just talked about that made my master doubt his medical skills. That's why he's like this now. I've never seen my master frown like this before, Hu Jingjing said after walking for a while. Li Zixuan heard this and nodded thoughtfully. He said, It's my fault. I shouldn't have told your master these things that haven't been verified yet. Your master's medical skills are unparalleled in the world. If he doubts his medical skills because of a few words from me, then I'm really a sinner. Hu Jingjing hurriedly said, Young master, don't say that. I didn't have any intention of blaming you just now. Moreover, I believe that what young master said is definitely true. Actually, outsiders say that my master's medical skills are unparalleled in the world. But in private, my master often laments that his medical skills are still shallow and that he still needs to improve. But he has traveled all over the world and still can't find a way to improve his medical skills. Master used to teach me that there are 6 qi in a person's body. They are wind, cold, heat, humidity, dryness, and fire. There were 2 sides to the 6 qis. One side was beneficial to the human body. As for the other side, if the 6 qis became too restless and went beyond what we could bear, then it would become the 6 obscenities, also known as the 6 great evil qis, which would cause harm and illness. For example, tuberculosis. According to the medical books, tuberculosis is caused by heat entering the body, causing the body's vital energy to be damaged. But young master, you just said that tuberculosis is caused by bacterial infection. What you just said is completely different from what I know about medicine, pathology, and pharmacology. But my master is not an ordinary person. Who knows, he might be able to comprehend something from it. Who knows? Li Zixuan was silent. In his previous life, the Western theory of bacteria and viruses went against the theory of evil qi causing illness and the theory of yin, yang, and 5 elements in Chinese medicine. Many people use the fact that Chinese medicine did not understand bacteria and viruses to attack Chinese medicine. But was Chinese medicine really that bad after 5,000 years? Of course not. At the very least, from the perspective of Li Zixuan, who had personally transmigrated to the Tang Dynasty, Chinese medicine wasn't just for show. Famous doctors like Sun Simiao, Dr. Qin, and Dr. Wang would definitely be able to kill all the medical experts in the modern era. But could it be said that Western medicine was inferior to Chinese medicine and had no redeeming qualities? Of course not. Western medicine was more direct than Chinese medicine. If a virus caused a disease in the human body, then it would be killed directly. Therefore, Western medicine usually took effect faster than Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine placed more importance on the management of the internal environment. Cleaning up phlegm, sludge, moisture, heat, and toxins meant cleaning up the environment where all kinds of harmful parasitic bacteria grew. Just like removing garbage, all kinds of pests and diseases would be greatly reduced. Therefore, it was more important to treat a chaotic situation when it was not chaotic. To replace the sewage, it was more important to take care of dredging the river. The origin of life was symbiotic with the internal and external environment. Chinese medicine's concept of the unity of man and nature and the human body as a whole would always be the navigation mark of medicine. The reason why Li Zixuan proposed the theory of bacteria and viruses was that he hoped that with Sun Simiao's superb talent in medical skills, he could find a new way to combine Chinese and Western medicine. Oh no, there was no Western medicine now, so it should be said that he had found a new way to evolve Chinese medicine. Chapter 1345. So that's how it is. Ha ha ha. I finally understand. Sun Simiao's meditative state was very strange. It was different from a martial artist's meditative state. When Sun Simiao was meditating, he actually liked to close his eyes and walk leisurely. Li Zixuan and Hu Jing supported the old Taoist all the way out of the workshop. When they reached the foot of the cloud mountain, Sun Simiao finally recovered from his meditation and laughed out loud. In Li Zixuan and Hu Jingjing's impression, Sun Simiao had always presented himself as an otherworldly expert in front of the world. It was the first time they had seen him lose his composure and laugh out loud like today. It seems that Taoist Sun's meditation must have been very fruitful. Li Zixuan sincerely felt happy for Sun Simiao. Sun Simiao heard him and looked around. He couldn't help but be shocked and said, "This, Xiao Xian, shouldn't I be in the workshop? Why am I here? Oh, it seems that my old habits are acting up again." After saying that, Sun Simiao suddenly realized something and couldn't help but pat his forehead and sigh. Li Zixuan heard him and thought, well, this isn't the first time old Sun has closed his eyes and walked leisurely like this. He couldn't help but be curious and asked, "Taoist Sun, for what you said, it seems that you've been in this situation before." Sun Simiao nodded with a blush and said, "Ah, that was when I lived in seclusion in Taibai Mountain and studied medicine. In those years, I would often stay up all night thinking about a sentence in a medical book. I also often thought about some diseases. But now, when I open my eyes, I find that I don't know where I am. Although I lived a hard life in those years, it was the time when my medical skills improved the fastest." Li Zixuan smiled and said, "Taoist Sun, you've been thinking hard for a long time today. It seems that your medical skills have improved again." Sun Simiao smiled and said, "It's all thanks to you, Xiao Xian. Your theory about bacteria causing diseases reminded me of the relevant records in the Neijing. Back then, the Yellow Emperor wrote in the Neijing, 'The intestines and stomach are the market. There is nothing that they can't accept and contain.' Also, he ate too much, which hurt his stomach and intestines. If the husband is not careful with his food and drink, he will be injured in the morning and injured in the evening. His injuries will accumulate, and after accumulating for a long time, he will become hot. Hot tears will form, and all kinds of strange insects will be born from the energy of the 5 elements. Symptoms such as coughing, fatigue, chafing, venomous venom, fox confusion, typhoid fever, etc. are all signs of parasites. Doctors are apt to make all kinds of deductions and treatments. After accumulating for a long time, it became hot, wet, and hot tears formed, and all kinds of strange insects were born from the chi of the 5 elements. Aren't the strange bugs here similar to the disease-causing bacteria that you've mentioned? Just now, I was wondering if the Yellow Emperor had already discovered this kind of bacteria that could make people sick, but at that time, there was no microscope like the one we used just now, so he called it a strange worm to explain the relevant pathology. Since ancient times, when doctors treat patients, they mostly adjust the yin, yang, and 5 elements qi in the patient's body. This Taoist guesses that once the 5 elements qi in the human body is balanced, the bacteria in the body will not be able to survive. On the contrary, when the 5 elements qi is in chaos, the bacteria of various attributes will multiply and destroy the human body's functions, causing the person to fall sick or die. Of course, all of this is this Taoist's private guess, and it needs to be verified one by one. However, once it is verified, the medical skills passed down from the era of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors will undergo major changes and improvements. This is a huge project, and this Taoist will definitely not be able to complete alone. Little Xian, would you be willing to lend this Taoist a hand?" After listening to Sun Simiao's analysis, Li Zixuan couldn't help but prostrate himself in admiration. The theory of bacteria and viruses was originally mutually exclusive with traditional Chinese medicine, but Sun Simiao was able to find the similarities between the two so quickly, corroborate each other, and seek common ground while shelving differences. He was truly amazing. In fact, not only Sun Simiao, but he had also thought about these problems in private. In his previous life, he had received modern education. Although he wasn't a medical major, he still knew some basic theoretical knowledge in Western medicine. In this life, the body that he had been reborn and had followed spiritual master Lingshu since he was a child. After a long period of illness, he had become a doctor, and he knew a lot of medicinal herbs. Later, when Sun Simiao lived in Yinshan, he had consulted Sun Simiao about many medical skills. It could be said that if he was in the 21st century, he would be considered an old Chinese medicine, and he would be able to treat common illnesses. As someone who knew both Western medicine and Chinese medicine, Li Zixuan had recently thought about the differences and similarities between the two. First of all, Chinese medicine paid attention to external and internal causes. When external and internal causes coexisted peacefully, the person would be able to maintain a normal state. If there was a problem with one side, the balance would be broken, and there would be problems with one's health. When external and internal causes were maintained within the tolerance range of the human body would be able to maintain its health. If it exceeded the tolerance range, the human body's health would not be guaranteed. Bacteria and viruses could be seen as external causes. This was within the treatment range of Chinese medicine, so Chinese medicine could treat them. Chinese medicine's treatment was to adjust the body's environment, allowing the body to adapt to the weather and making the human body unsuitable for bacteria to survive. Western medicine's treatment was to use antibiotics to eliminate bacteria. The two methods were different, but the goal was the same. Thinking of this, Li Zixuan looked at Sun Simiao and said with a serious face, "Daoist son, you're treating me as an outsider. You're my elder and also a great divine, doctor revered by tens of thousands. It's reasonable for me to support you in continuing to study medicine. Don't worry. The medical school's microscopes will become more and more advanced in the future. The medical school will also recruit more outstanding medical students to assist Daoist Sun in developing the medical skills of the great Tang Empire to a height that surpassed the era of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. Human resources, material resources, and financial resources, as long as I, Li Zixuan, have it, I will definitely not be stingy." Good, good, good. Little Xian, with your words, this poor Taoist is relieved. Spiritual Master Lingshu really didn't misjudge you. Sun Simiao smiled with a gratified face. The news that the workshop had developed a microscope quickly spread to the palace. This time, it was Li Zixuan who took the initiative to inform Li Er of the news. Old Li had sent 2 experts to be his bodyguards, and they could help him search for ores in the future. As the saying goes, a plum for a peach. Li Zixuan had no reason to deliberately hide such a good thing as the successful development of the microscope from Li Er. When Old Li heard the news, he led a few of his trusted officials to Yanhuang College to see the microscope with their own eyes. That's right, after the microscope was completed, they immediately moved back to Yanhuang College. After all, although there were guards around the workshop, it was far less safe than the college. Li Zixuan not only showed them a sample of the river water, but also a cross-section of the plant's root. Li Er and the other officials didn't expect that in the world where humans lived, there was a microscopic world that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. After Li Er and the others saw it, they couldn't help but click their tongues in amazement. Of course, these people definitely wouldn't dare to drink unboiled water in the future. After all, when they thought of the many little bugs in the water, who would dare to drink it directly? On the other hand, after experiencing this, Li Er was more confident in the scientific research ability of Yanhuang College. Thinking about the current technology of Yanhuang College. Far away, they could see the sun, moon, and stars. Near, they could see the dust of the mortal world. What couldn't they do? At this moment, Li Er was incomparably glad that he had agreed to Li Zixuan to establish Yanhuang College. Otherwise, even if he dominated the 4 seas, he would still be a frog at the bottom of the well in terms of knowledge. Zhengguan first year, April 15th. The tens of thousands of troops that attacked Zhengzhou to quell the rebellion finally returned in triumph. Li Er, who had received the news in advance, didn't go to the morning court today. Instead, he led the court officials out of the city to personally welcome the victorious army. This was because this victory was too important to Li Er. Just think about it. If the Chui family really took down Luoyang with lightning speed, with Luoyang's large amount of grain, the Chui family and the imperial court army would probably be in a stalemate for 3 to 5 months. That would damage the prestige of the imperial court, and it would also make the other aristocratic families think that the imperial court was useless. They would all copy the Chui family and form their own army. At that time, with the huge influence of the 5 families and 7 hopes in the people, the imperial court would definitely be in a terrible state, and Great Tang would be torn apart. When the Turks in the north saw this, they would definitely take advantage of the situation and attack Chang. And once more, at the same time, facing internal and external problems, even if the imperial court could deal with it and win, it would definitely be a Pyrrhic victory. This was something that Li Er didn't want to see no matter what. Today, Li Jing led 3 armies and completely suppressed the rebellion in Zhengzhou in less than half a month. The Chui family of Qinghe, the Zheng family of Xingyang, and the Chui family of Bowling were all wiped out. The other aristocratic families who were watching in the dark didn't dare to do anything when they saw how quickly the imperial court army suppressed the chaos. A few days ago, the family heads of the Li family of Zhao Prefecture and the Lu family of Fanyang had all come to Chang in city to meet Li Er and express their loyalty. At this point, the 5 families and 7 hopes were destroyed: Chui family of Qinghe, Zheng family of Xingyang, and Chui family of Bowling, and surrendered Li family of Zhao Prefecture, Lu family of Fanyang. The Wang family of Taiyuan had already submitted to Li Er, and as for the Li family of Longxi, they were the current royal family. The 7 aristocratic families had completely become the support of the imperial court, and Li Er could be said to be satisfied. He was only waiting to sharpen his blade and attack the Turks. "Greetings, your majesty." Chang in city, outside the illustrious Virtue Gate. Li Jing led the army to Li Er and the officials. He hurriedly got off his horse and cupped his fists towards Li Er. "Pharmacist, no need to be so polite. Pharmacist, you have worked hard in this battle." Li Er laughed heartily and personally helped Li Jing up with a sincere expression. "For your majesty, for the Tang Empire, this old official is willing to die 1,000 times. Li Jing cupped his fists and lowered his head as he said in a deep voice, "Greetings, your majesty." The soldiers behind Li Jing immediately followed suit and bowed towards Li Er. In an instant, their voices were deafening. Li Er looked at the densely packed army in front of him. It was them who fought a bloody battle in Zhengzhou and wiped out the rebels, causing the other aristocratic families to not dare to make a move. Thinking of this, he said loudly, "Soldiers, rise." All of you went to Zhengzhou and quickly quelled the rebellion. After hearing the news of victory, I was very happy. All of you are good men of the Tang Empire. Today, the 3 armies have returned in triumph. I am very happy. Men, prepare good wine and meat. I want to reward the 3 armies tonight. Ha! When the soldiers heard Li Er's praise, they were all elated. At this moment, all of them said loudly, "Thank you, your majesty." Li Er nodded and said, "Return to the city. All of you have worked hard in the Battle of Zhengzhou. Today, I want to reward you according to your contributions." Thus, the civil and military officials and soldiers of the 3 armies all followed Li Er into the city. The citizens in the city had already seen the news of the army's triumphant return on Datong Daily. At this moment, they were all lined up on both sides of the streets to welcome them. Everywhere the army passed, it would definitely attract the most enthusiastic cheers. Because the Tang Empire had won another battle, this meant that the lives of the citizens would be even better. Of course, it was not all cheers. There were also curses. In the middle of the army, there were many prison wagons. Inside the wagons were the captured war criminals. When the common people saw the people inside the wagons, they started cursing, throwing rotten eggs, stones, bricks, and so on. Then they all came. "This is the old grandfather of the Chui family?" "Yes, it's him. I saw him last year when the Chui family was wreaking havoc." "Bah, Chui Junshuo, that old fart, is still thinking of rebelling at such an old age? He has harmed the lives of so many good men for no reason." That old thing really deserves to die. 2 days ago, I saw on the Tang Daily that Guangxin County was clearly surrounded and the rebels were bound to lose. However, not only did Chui Junshuo not surrender, he even captured the elderly, women, and children in the city to defend the city for him. He wanted to drag the entire city down with him. How despicable. Hiss, there was such a thing? Then what happened in the end? It is said that good and evil will be repaid in the end. In the end, a reporter from Guangxin County called Li Yu from the Great Tang Daily used the telegraph invented by the Marquis of Yong and to contact the army outside the city. They agreed to open the city gates at night. It was because of this that the army of the imperial court was able to enter the city without losing a single soldier. Whoa! It was the Marquis of Yong and's telegraph machine that contributed greatly? Isn't that so? This telegraph machine is amazing. It is said that it can send news to the other party from 100 li away in an instant. Why does this Li Yu have the Marquis of Yong and's telegraph machine? You don't know Li Yu? She is the most famous reporter in Datang Daily's editorial department. Most of the news that we have seen in the past were written by her. TSK. Then why did she go to Zhengzhou? How would I know? Anyway, it is all thanks to her that we were able to quell the rebellion in Zhengzhou. Otherwise, all the citizens of Zhengzhou would have been killed by Chui Junshuo. The citizens were discussing fervently. The more they scolded, the angrier they became. They threw all the rotten eggs and bricks in their hands. Then, many of them took off their shoes and threw them at Chui Junshuo and the others. Soon, the civil and military officials, as well as the main generals who were responsible for quelling the rebellion, arrived at the palace. As for the tens of thousands of soldiers, they returned to the barracks. Sir, do I really have to go in? But His Majesty didn't let me in just now. At the back of the group of officials, Little Yu tugged at Li Zixuan's arm and said timidly, "Today, Li Zixuan also came to the morning assembly." Hearing this, Li Zixuan found it funny and said, "Of course you have to go in. Uncle Li's request for merit has your names on it. If you don't go, His Majesty will blame you. Who can bear the consequences? Go. Go in quickly." Chapter 1346. Within the Ganlu Hall. At this moment, a reward ceremony was being held. Li Er's face was filled with joy as he sat on the dragon throne. Below him, the officials stood according to their ranks. As for the generals whose ranks were not high enough, such as Li Yu, Meng Wenhao, and Iron Egg, they were all waiting in the side hall. After a round of greetings, Li Er looked at the officials in the hall and said, "Half a month ago, Chui Junshuo plotted a rebellion, trying to secretly take down Luoyang and fight against the imperial court. Luckily, Datang Daily's Li Yu and Nanyang Yi family's Yi Fashion discovered the Chui family's plot and sent the news back to Chang and through the telegraph. After which, Li Er led 60,000 troops to attack Luoyang. Duan Jishuan fought the reinforcements of the Chui and Zheng families outside of Guangxin County. In the end, Li Er and Lu Renge, who was hiding in the city, worked together and easily entered the city without losing a single soldier. This was the fortune of the imperial court and the people of Zhengzhou. As they say, merit should be rewarded and wrongdoings should be punished. The frontline soldiers did well in suppressing the rebellion and naturally should be rewarded. Chui Junshuo, Zhang Shu, and Chui Wenji rebelled against their superiors and bewitched the people's hearts. This time, Hunan Circuit's military chief, Li Jing, led the troops to suppress the rebellion. In just half a month, the rebels were completely wiped out, solving a huge problem for the imperial court. Li Jing was given the title of Zhuo Guanglu Daifu, 1,000 pieces of silk, and 400 households. Li Jing quickly went up and cupped his hands. "Thank you, Your Majesty. However, how can this old subject receive such a great reward? I hope Your Majesty can take back the order." At the end of the day, Li Jing still felt that the annihilation of the Chui family was not a challenge for the imperial army that had the telegraph. He felt that the victory of the imperial army was to be expected. On the contrary, it would be abnormal if they were defeated. In layman's terms, Li Jing felt that the difficulty of this dungeon was too low. Even if they won, Li Er did not need to reward him. This was what he should do. It was not that the enemy was too weak, but that our army with the telegraph was too strong. Li Er smiled. The army wiped out the rebels. Li Er, as the commander of the three armies, why shouldn't you be rewarded? If I don't reward you, wouldn't the world say that I'm stingy? When Li Jing heard that, he could only cup his hands and say, "Thank you for your reward, your majesty." Yes. Li Er nodded his head and continued. Qin Xiong, the deputy commander of the marching army, Chang Jijia, the commander-in-chief of the right army, Niu Jinda, the commander-in-chief of the left army, for their meritorious service in leading the army to kill the enemy and killing the enemy's general. Each of them will be conferred the title of Junior Guardian of the Crown Prince, 500 bolts of silk, 100,000 coins, and 300 fiefs. Qin Xiong, Cheng Yaojin, and Niu Jinda stepped forward and cupped their hands. Thank you, your majesty, for your reward. Li Zishuan, who was standing below, couldn't help but feel happy for these three old generals. Yuqi Jingda, on the other hand, was a little jealous. This time, Li Er had dispatched a large army to battle, but he didn't let him participate in the battle, causing him to only be able to anxiously wait for news from the front lines in Chang'an. However, although he was a little jealous, he did not go to the extent of being jealous of Qin Xiong and the others. After more than 10 years of friendship, how could he be jealous of such a small reward? Next was the rewards for the local provincial governors and military officials who had contributed to quelling the rebellion. For example, Suizhou Provincial Governor Wang Yu, Bianzhou Provincial Governor Zhao Kai, Hunan Ambassador Rincan, and so on. Old Li's rewards were usually empty positions or meritorious titles, along with some monetary rewards. It was rare to directly promote one's official rank. It was clear that Li Er knew that with the lineup of the army, as long as any general was not muddle-headed, they would be able to win. The awards ceremony lasted for a full 30 minutes before it finally reached the content that Li Zishuan was more concerned about. Marquis Yong and Li Zishuan, although he did not participate in the battle this time, the telegraph he created, as well as the Datong Daily Editorial Office Liu, all played a crucial role in this battle. Without the telegraph, and without Liu, the court would not have been able to rush to Zhengzhou in time, and would not have been able to coordinate with the new army in the city. Although he was not on the battlefield, he contributed a lot to quelling the rebellion. I have decided to confer Li Zishuan the title of Crown Prince's Junior Guardian, give him 1,000 horses, and reward him with the right to mine 3 mineral veins. Li Er, who was sitting on the dragon throne, said slowly, "A generous reward." This was a generous reward. It was not that Li Zishuan received more rewards than Li Jing and the others, but the rewards that Li Jing and the others received were all obtained from fighting on the battlefield. However, Li Zishuan did not go to the battlefield at all, but in the end, he received a generous reward. It really made others envious and jealous. Li Zishuan was delighted. He had originally been waiting for Li Er to reward his students and Li Yu. He did not expect Li Er to give him such a thing in the end. It was really out of his expectations. "Thank you, your majesty, for your reward." Li Zishuan stepped forward and bowed respectfully. He would not be as polite to Li Er as Li Jing. Li Zishuan did not care much about the promotion from the original third-rank crown Prince Zhan Shi to the second-rank crown Prince's Junior Guardian. However, the reward of the right to mine 3 mineral veins scratched Li Zishuan's itch. He did not lack power or money. He only lacked mineral veins. Old Li gave him the right to mine 3 mineral veins at once. It could be said that it was not a big deal. Although Old Li did not say what mineral it was, in the ancient times when salt and iron were monopolized, it was already very good to have a private mine. Yes, kid, don't be complacent. I have high hopes for your Yanwang College. In the future, you must continue to work hard and create an even better divine weapon. Li Er looked at Li Zishuan and said meaningfully. Li Zishuan understood that Old Li was urging him to quickly improve the telegraph. He bowed and replied, "Yes, your majesty." Lier nodded and ordered, calling for Lu Rengue of Bien province to enter the hall. As Lu Rengue was only a 7th-rank army officer, he did not have the qualifications to enter the imperial court. Therefore, he was only waiting in the side hall for the summons. Calling for Lu Rengue of Bien province to enter the hall. Naturally, an attendant passed on Lier's words. After a while, Lu Rengue walked in excitedly. He was just a small army officer in a local area. He had never thought that one day he would be able to enter the hall that symbolized the supreme power of the world. When he was in the side hall, he had already said to himself hundreds of times, "Don't be nervous, don't be nervous." At this time, walking on the smooth stone tiles of Taiji Palace, Lu Rengue's previously restless heart suddenly calmed down. This general, Lu Rengue of Bien province, pays his respects to your majesty. Walking to the center of the officials, Lu Rengue bowed and saluted. His voice was full of energy, neither servile nor overbearing. Lu Rengue's appearance was not bad. On the contrary, he was quite handsome. At this moment, he was not in a hurry and looked neither servile nor overbearing. Lier could not help but secretly nod and say, "Lu Rengue, in this rebellion in the city, you first rescued Wei Zheng in the chaos, then assisted Liu to send the news of the Chui family's rebellion back to Chang'an. Finally, you went deep into the enemy's camp and joined the new soldiers to open the city gate from inside the city, allowing the army outside the city to enter the city. You saved hundreds of thousands of people in Guangxing County from danger. It can be said that you have made great contributions. I have decided to promote you to the right commander of the right Wu Wei and give you the title of Ningyuan Army General, 100 pieces of silk, and 100,000 yuan." Promotion made an exception. At this moment, in the hearts of all the officials in the hall, these 4 words appeared at the same time. A 7th-rank army officer in the local area was promoted to a 4th-rank army officer in the capital's right Wu Wei camp. This kind of treatment could only be described as an exception. Lu Rengue was a little confused at this moment. After all, although he knew that he had made a contribution in this battle, he did not expect Lier to reward him so heavily. This feeling was like a pie falling from the sky. "I, Lu Rengue, thank your majesty for your kindness. In the future, I will do my best for the Tang Empire until my death." Lu Rengue bowed deeply and expressed his thanks. Lier nodded and said, "Summon Han Li, Meng Wenhao, and Liu to the hall." Lu Rengue knew that Lier would continue to reward others, so he wanted to retreat to the back of the officials and find a place to stand. Unexpectedly, a young official beside him coughed lightly, looked at him, and pointed to the place beside him, indicating for him to stand there. Lu Rengue looked at the person's appearance and was shocked. Wasn't this the person that little Yu called Mr. outside the hall earlier? He clearly remembered that Liu had told him when he was in Zhengzhou that her Mr. was Marquis Yong and Lisa Xuan. Lu Rengue knew that his rank was not high enough, so how would he dare to stand together with Lisa Xuan? Wasn't this breaking the rules? Thus, he clasped his fists at Lisa Xuan with an apologetic expression, and then slipped to the last row of the general's camp. Right at this moment, Bruiser, Meng Wenhao, and Liu walked into the hall as well. After they bowed to Lier was just about to speak when he suddenly caught a glimpse of Liu's face, and he couldn't help but be slightly stunned. A trace of confusion and reminiscence flashed across his eyes. He looked at Liu quietly, which made Liu a little uncomfortable. The officials in the hall did not hear Lier speak for a long time. Many of them could not help but raise their heads and look at Lier. Cough, cough. Zhang Sun Wuji did not want his brother-in-law to lose his composure too much, so he coughed heavily. Lier finally woke up from his deep thoughts. He straightened his face and said in a deep voice, "Meng Wenhao, Liu, during this rebellion in Zhengzhou, the 2 of you used the telegraph to exchange information for the imperial court and the frontline army. You have contributed greatly. I hereby confer Meng Wenhao the title of Civil Linlang and Liu the title of Detong Daily's gold medal reporter. You have the right to listen to memorials. If you encounter any injustice among the people, you can directly report to me. Civil Linlang was a ninth-rank civil official. Although the control was small, the significance was significant. This meant that although Meng Wenhao had not taken the imperial examination, he already had the title of an official. This starting point was not ordinary. The reward given to Li Yu was even more impressive. The right to listen to memorials was a privilege that only imperial censors had. Now it was given to a girl. This made all the officials in the hall stunned. Meng Wenhao, my daughter, Li Yu, thank you, Your Majesty, for your reward. Meng Wenhao and Li Yu bowed and thanked him. At this moment, Li Er continued, "Where is Han Li?" Chapter 1347. This kid is here. In the Sweet Dew Hall, after Li Er rewarded Meng Wenhao and Li Yu, it was Iron Egg's turn. Meng Wenhao and Li Yu took a step back and made room for Iron Egg. Li Er looked at Iron Egg and slowly said, "Han Li, during the Zhengzhou Rebellion, you not only cooperated with Meng Wenhao to send information through the telegraph, but also killed Ming Huan, an expert from the Chui clan's Hall of Worship, on the night we invaded Guangcheng County. Ming Huan was one of the most wanted criminals of the Supreme Court. I didn't expect you to kill him with your sword, so you deserve a great reward. I have decided to make you a deputy lieutenant of Rinyong and reward you with 50 bolts of silk. Thank you for your reward, Your Majesty." Iron Egg cupped his hands and said calmly. His expression didn't change much, because his ambition wasn't to become an official. He only wanted to learn from Li Zexuan and protect his family in the future. Unexpectedly, Li Er did not ask Bruiser and the others to leave. Instead, he continued, "I heard that Ming Huan was a famous expert in the Jianghu, but you killed him with your sword. You are indeed a young hero. Your father accompanied the imperial army and fought with the Turks in the north for many years. He fought bravely and killed countless enemies. At the critical moment, he blocked an arrow with his body and saved Minister Qin's life. I have also heard of what happened after that. Although your father violated military discipline, he left alone because he didn't want to be a burden to the army. Therefore, I will make the decision today to pardon your father's desertion and make him a deputy lieutenant of Zhaowu." Li Er, who had won the battle, was very enthusiastic, as if he wanted to grant amnesty to the world. He even dug up Han Tianhu's old case, which was very surprising. Hearing this, Bruiser was pleasantly surprised. It could be said that this was one of his greatest regrets. Han Tianhu was a great hero in his heart, but this hero had never received the treatment he deserved. Instead, he had always been treated as a deserter. Now that this injustice had been cleared, Bruiser was even happier than when he had received his reward. He excitedly cupped his fists. He cupped his hands and said excitedly, "Han Li thanked your Majesty on behalf of my father. Yes, all of you can leave for now. Since the meritorious officials have been rewarded, the next step is to punish the guilty officials." Li Er nodded his head in satisfaction and waved his hand to signal them to leave. The awards ceremony officially came to an end. Li Er's eyes darkened, and he said coldly, "Lu Dui." The Chancellor of the Supreme Court, Lu Dui, had a solemn expression. He cupped his hands and said, "Here." Li Er said in a deep voice, "A few days ago, I asked you to thoroughly investigate the matter of suspicious officials colluding with the enemy and betraying the country. How is the progress?" When the officials in the hall heard this, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They thought that old Li was going to bring up old scores. Lu Dui saluted with a solemn expression and said, "Your Majesty, these days the Supreme Court, together with the Ministry of Justice and the Censorate, have tried 42 guilty officials and confirmed a total of 38 officials. They secretly sent messages to the Chui family of Qinghe, the Zheng family of Xingyang, and the Chui family of Bowling. Most of these people are the direct descendants and collateral descendants of these three families. There are also some who used to be hanger-ons of these three families. The other four officials were sending news to the Liu family of Fanyang that the imperial court was preparing to encircle and annihilate Zhengzhou. In addition, This old official also found out that there were 12 other officials who were their accomplices. These people didn't have time to send a message, but they realized that Baichi's people were hiding in the dark. However, they were exposed by the others. The Liu family of Fanyang? Lucideo, what do you have to say? Lier's eyes flashed as he looked at one of the officials in the hall and asked. An old man with white hair and beard walked out shakily. This person was the current head of the Liu family of Fanyang. After the news of the Zhengzhou rebellion being quelled spread throughout the world, he came to Chang and city a few days ago to show his loyalty to Lier. Lucideo cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, I never asked anyone to send a message to the Liu family. The Liu family lives peacefully in Fanyang and definitely has no intention of disobeying me. When I learned of the Chui family's rebellion, I even wanted to bring all the servants of the Liu family to quell the rebellion for your majesty. However, when I just left, I heard that the imperial army had destroyed the rebels with a thunderous force. I could only give up. However, the Liu family's loyalty to the imperial court can be seen by the sun and moon. I hope that your majesty can see through this. Lier was speechless. Lucideo's excuses completely denied that the officials were related to the Liu family. He couldn't do anything to the Liu family because of this, so he said with a cold gaze, Whether the Liu family is loyal or not, I will let people investigate this matter clearly. Lu Dui, listen up. All the officials who colluded with the enemy are to be removed from their positions and sent to Yuzhou. Let them guard the borders for me. Guarding the borders meant that there was a slim chance of survival. Ever since Li Er ascended the throne, there were very few officials who were given such heavy punishments. Take Wei Zheng, for example. Although he was Li Jianxing's top strategist and had suggested Li Jianxing to assassinate him several times, after the Xuanwu Gate incident, Li Er still let bygones be bygones and used Wei Zheng. From this, one could see how magnanimous Li Er was. However, these dozens of officials were different from Wei Zheng. They were colluding with the enemy and betraying the country. If they succeeded, the Chui family would attack Luoyang in advance before the imperial army arrived in Zhengzhou. In that case, it would bring immeasurable losses to the imperial court. This was something Li Er couldn't tolerate. This old official obeys. Lu Dui cupped his hands and said. Li Er's eyes flashed, and he asked again, Where is Lu Zhenghui? Lu Zhenghui was born in the Liu family of Hunan. At the end of the Sui Dynasty, Lu Zhenghui was the Yingyang Prefecture's secretary of Taiyuan. Later, he led his troops to join Li Yuan and was sent to Taiyuan to report Wang Wei and Gao Junius rebellion. After the Tang Dynasty was established, he was ordered to stay in Taiyuan and manage the rear. After Lu Wuzhou attacked Taiyuan, Lu Zhenghui was captured, but he remained loyal. After being rescued, he served as the Minister of Justice. This old official is here. An old official walked out from the civil officials' camp and bowed respectfully to Lier. Lier asked in a deep voice, Chui Zhenshuo, Zhang Shuo, and Chui Wenji rebelled against the imperial court. According to the Tang Dynasty's laws, what are their crimes? Lu Zhenghui cupped his hands expressionlessly and replied, Your Majesty, rebellion is a capital crime with 9 familial exterminations. Chui Zhenshuo abducted hundreds of thousands of people in Zhengzhou, which is a capital crime of capital crimes. All the officials felt a chill in their hearts. Capital crime. Now, there were no more than 20 or 30 prisoners on death row executed in the Tang Dynasty every year. The main reason was that after the war at the end of the Sui Dynasty, the population of the Central Plains sharply decreased. Instead of killing the prisoners on death row, it was better to exile them to the barren land like Xiongzhou, which could be regarded as a contribution to the Tang Dynasty. Now, if Li Er executed all the children of the 3 great families who rebelled, Chang, it would really be a bloodbath. Li Er thought for a moment and said, Put the culprits Chui Zhenshuo, Zhang Shu, and Chui Wenji in the death row and choose a day to behead them. Pan Jinyue, the governor of Zhengzhou, and Chui Quan, the commandant of Zhichang's mansion in Zhengzhou, are accomplices to the evildoers and rebelled against their superiors. They will be stripped of their official positions and executed immediately. All the children of the Chui family in Qinghe, the Zheng family in Xingyang, and the Chui family in Bowling will be exiled to Yuzhou and Yunzhou to guard the border. All the women will be demoted to slaves and sent to the musical house. Ruthless. Lier was really ruthless. After what he did, the three great families were completely uprooted. At least for hundreds of years, they would not be able to rise again. Li Zixuan stood among the officials and couldn't help but fall silent after hearing that. The culprits like Cui Junchuo were not worthy of sympathy. What he sympathized with was the women of the three great families. As women of the five great families, these women were originally the partners of men in the world. Now, because of Cui Junchuo and others, they suffered an unexpected calamity and were sent to the musical house. They were bound to become the playthings of the officials, and their end was miserable. But in fact, Cui Junchuo's rebellion had nothing to do with them. If Cui Junchuo's rebellion succeeded, the ones who benefited the most were the men in charge of the families. But if the rebellion failed, these women would also suffer an unexpected calamity. This was the ancient times. The fate of women was always attached to men, and they could never be the masters of themselves. Li Zixuan inexplicably felt some sympathy from the bottom of his heart. But even if he sympathized, what could he do? This was a culture that had been passed down for thousands of years. He could not change it in a short time and could only let it be. Your Majesty, although Cui Junchuo and others have committed a serious crime of rebellion, these people are old. I'm afraid it's not appropriate to execute them. At this moment, Fong Xianling stood out and cupped his hands to Lier. Old Fong didn't want to plead for mercy for the aristocratic families, but just out of a humanitarian spirit. After all, in ancient times, the old people were respected by the whole society. Lier frowned when he heard that. He must kill Cui Junchuo and others, but what Fong Xianling said was reasonable. After a moment of silence, he said, "Then give each of them a white silk and leave their bodies intact." Your Majesty is wise. Fong Xianling also understood that this was the biggest concession that Lier could make, so he didn't continue to press. Today, the army returned triumphantly. I not only want to reward the army in the barracks, but also intend to lift the curfew tonight and celebrate with the people. My dear officials, if you have something to report, I will withdraw from the court. Those who should be rewarded have been rewarded, and those who should be punished have been punished. Lier was in a good mood and said loudly. None of the civil and military officials said anything. Lier decisively announced the withdrawal of the court. The officials took their leave one by one. Cheng Yaojin, Qin Xiong, Niu Jinda, and Li Jing, the generals of the southern expedition, walked together with Li Zixuan. Cheng Yaojin patted Li Zixuan's shoulder and laughed. Haha, Xiaoxian, although you didn't personally go to the battlefield, you still got a lot of credit. Many generals are envious. That's all because of your Majesty's kindness. Li Zixuan said modestly. Li Jing waved his hand and said, Little Xian, you can't say that. If it weren't for your telegraph, the army definitely wouldn't have been able to take down the three aristocratic families so smoothly in Zhengzhou. No one can find fault with your contribution. Qin Xiong also stroked his beard and said, Haha, that's right. If it weren't for your telegraph machine and your student, we would probably be fighting in Luoyang in Hunan province. Cheng Yaojin suddenly turned his head and patted Lu Rengue behind him. He said proudly, Haha, Lu Rengue, you little brat, you've finally become a soldier under old Cheng's command. It wasn't easy for me to snatch you from that old brat Wang Yu. You better perform well for old Cheng. Cheng Yaojin was the general of the right Wu Wei, and Lu Rengue was now the right commander of the right Wu Wei. It was not wrong to say that he was Cheng Yaojin's soldier. This general obeys. Only then did Lu Rengue realize that he had been promoted because of Cheng Yaojin behind the scenes. Chapter 1348. Zhao Song. Do you know where Liu came from? After the morning court session, Lier came to the Suite du Hall. Recalling the scene from the morning court session, his gaze darkened. He suddenly looked at Zhao Song and asked. Zhao Song was stunned. Clearly, he did not expect Li Er to suddenly ask such a question. He quickly gathered all the information he knew in his mind, then stepped forward and answered, Your Majesty, according to what I know, Liu came to Chang'an City last year. The first person she met was Meng Wenhao. Later on, by chance, she met the Duke of Yong. The Duke of Yong, and saw that she was smart and had no one to rely on in Chang'an City, so he arranged for her to work in the Tang daily editorial department. The girl behind him is also very hardworking and studious. She stood out from the group of literary talents in the editorial department of Tang Dynasty Daily and became the best reporter there. Li Er nodded and asked again, Then do you know where you came from? Who are her parents? Where do they live? Zhao Song frowned and thought for a while. He shook his head and said, Your Majesty, I only know that Liu came from Jiangnan Yuezhou, but I don't know who her parents are. Then he asked tentatively, Your Majesty, do you think there's something wrong with Liu's identity? He was not stupid. For Li Er to be so concerned about someone, that person's identity was definitely not ordinary. Li Er frowned and asked, Zhao Song, don't you think Liu looks like someone? Forget it. At that time, you weren't at my side yet. Send someone to investigate Liu's father and mother, but don't alarm Liu and the Duke of Yong'an. For a moment, Zhao Song was confused. Was he investigating Liu as a bad person or as a good person? Although he was full of doubts, Zhao Song knew what to ask and what not to ask after accompanying Li Er for so many years. He bowed deeply and replied, Yes, I'll arrange for someone to go to Jiangnan Yuezhou. Li Er nodded. Zhao Song saw that Li Er did not have any other orders, so he left. Too similar. But how is this possible? In the hall, Li Er sighed faintly. Wenhao, your parents must be worried about you. Go back first. We'll go to the academy tomorrow. After leaving the palace, Iron Egg, Meng Wenhao, Liu, Peng Feiji, Lu Ringue, and the others all walked together with Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan generously gave Meng Wenhao a day off. After all, he knew about Meng Wenhao's family situation. At this moment, Meng Wenhao was also a little homesick. After all, he had never been away from home for so many days in his life. Moreover, after experiencing war and life and death, he undoubtedly cherished family and loved ones even more. Then, sir, I'll go home first. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to Yinshan. I'll make the best use of my time to make up for all the missed lessons this month. Meng Wenhao cupped his hands and said, Yes, go. Li Zixuan nodded. Meng Wenhao turned to look at Liu and the rest. These were his comrades in Zhengzhou. Taking a deep breath, Meng Wenhao cupped his hands and said, Little Yu Iron Egg, we will meet again at Cloud Mountain. Big brother Liu, it's all thanks to you in Zhengzhou this time. If you have time, you could go to Yinshan to take a look. See you at Yinshan. Iron Egg and Liu also cupped their hands and said goodbye. Lu Rungue laughed and cupped his hands and said, Little brother, take care. I'll definitely go to Yinshan to take a look at the Immortal Academy. Meng Wenhao nodded and turned to leave. Li Zixuan looked at Lu Rungue and said with a smile, I've heard the details of the battle from Lil Yu. Adjunct Lu. Oh no, General Lu. Thank you for saving my cousin, Yi Fashion. I don't like to owe people favors. If you encounter any trouble in Chang'an City in the future, feel free to come to Yinshan to find me. This was a kind of promise to repay a debt of gratitude. At the same time, it was also a kind of appreciation for talent. After all, the person in front of him was the first hero in China's history to resist the Japanese. Lu Ringue was flattered. He quickly cupped his hands and said, Marquis, you can't say that. That night, Brother Fashion was being hunted down. It's true that I saved him, but without Brother Fashion, I wouldn't have been able to meet Miss Liu, and I wouldn't have been able to send the information about the battle to the imperial court. Therefore, rather than saying that I saved Brother Fashion, it's better to say that Brother Fashion saved me. Li Zixuan nodded in his heart. This Lu Ringue's character was not bad. He didn't force others to repay his kindness. He smiled and said, Haha, Anyway, I owe you a favor. What I said earlier still works. General Liu, do you have a place to stay in Chang and the city? If not, I can send someone to arrange it for you. Liu Rengue cupped his hands and said, I don't dare to trouble you, Marquis. I'm currently staying with Governor Zhao in the post house. After reporting to the right sentinel tomorrow, I'll be staying in the barracks. As for settling down in Chang and city, I haven't considered it yet. It wasn't that he hadn't considered it, but that he couldn't afford it. Although the housing prices in this era couldn't be compared to modern housing prices, this was Chang city. It wasn't something that a newcomer like Liu Rengue could afford after joining the army. However, Lier had rewarded him with 100,000 copper coins this time. Liu Rengue pondered in his heart that after he stabilized his foundation in the right guards, he would take out some of his savings and perhaps be able to buy a residence in Chang and bring his family over. Li Zishuan nodded and said, if that's the case, then we'll part ways here. We'll meet again in the future. Marquis, take care. Liu Rengue cupped his hands and left in the direction of the post house. Although he was now a soldier under Cheng Yaojin, Zhao Kai was his old superior. He had to say goodbye before he left. Haha, Iron Egg, I didn't expect you to have improved after going to Zhengzhou. You actually dared to go against the fourth of the four Tai-Bai ghosts. Ming Huan, Li Yu, Iron Egg, and Pang Feiji were all going back to Yun Mountain. Li Zishuan came in a carriage today. Therefore, after Liu Rengue left, the four of them got on the carriage. On the way, Li Zishuan looked at Iron Egg and said with a faint smile, the details of the battle in the city that night weren't revealed in the report that Meng Wenhao sent to the imperial court through the telegraph. Li Zishuan only heard about Iron Egg killing Ming Huan from Li Yu today. When he heard the news, a layer of cold sweat seeped out of his back. Master, Iron Egg was wrong. Don't tell sister, or she'll be worried again. Iron Egg heard the dissatisfaction in Li Zishuan's words. He didn't explain anything and directly admitted his mistake. You still know how to worry about your sister? Do you know that while you were gone, although your sister didn't tell me, I don't know how many tears she shed for you behind her back? Don't you know how much you're worth? Ming Huan is one of the four Tai-Bai ghosts. How can you deal with him? Li Zishuan scolded mercilessly. Although the battle in the city had eliminated the remaining three of the four Tai-Bai ghosts and solved one of Li Zishuan's problems, he didn't want to eliminate the three ghosts in this way. Han Yushi only had this one brother, and he only had this one disciple. How could Ming Huan's life be more valuable than Iron Egg's? Master, I just want to practice. Big Brother Liu was helping me from the side. I'll be fine. Besides, I know the Taiji sword. It won't be a problem for me to block Ming Huan for a while. Please don't tell my sister about this, okay? Iron Egg will definitely finish his homework and practice hard in the future. Iron Egg hurriedly begged. To him, Han Yushi could be said to be both his elder sister and his mother. After he was born, his mother passed away. It was Han Yushi who raised him single-handedly. So, in his heart, Han Yushi was very, very important. Li Zishuan pondered for a moment and said, it's good that you know you're wrong. Since you're back, go to the courtyard and accompany your sister. You and Wenhao will go to the academy tomorrow. Since you can survive Ming Huan's attack, it means that your martial arts have improved. In the future, you'll have to double your training. After saying that, Li Zishuan's face suddenly showed a devilish smile. Master, I still have a lot of homework to do in the academy. Iron Egg's face turned bitter when he heard that. Ever since he started studying at Yanhuan College, his martial arts hadn't fallen behind. He would complete the training tasks Li Zishuan gave him every day. It was a habit he had kept for a long time. Then find some time. You can't fall behind in martial arts or homework. You said it yourself just now. Li Zishuan didn't care. At this time, he looked at Li Yu and smiled. Little fishy, now that you've become a gold medal reporter in the editorial department, what do you think? A gold medal reporter had the right to report to the emperor. It could be said that the current Li Yu could go anywhere. Even the county magistrate and provincial governor wouldn't dare to provoke her. Little Fishy smiled sweetly and said, of course I'm happy. With this identity, I could do a lot of things for the people. However, Saving Wei switching this time is what I'm most happy about. By the way, I have to thank you for the telegraph. Li Zishuan waved his hand and smiled. Huh, why are you thanking me? You did well this time. I'll host a banquet tonight at Yinshan to welcome you and Iron Egg. Hee hee, thank you, sir. Marquis, you're back. Back at Yinshan, Li Zishuan and the other two jumped down from the carriage. Lu Feng and Lu Yin came up to them. Li Zishuan hadn't given them the task of searching for ores, so they took the dozens of Imperial guards with them and acted as Li Zishuan's bodyguards. Li Zishuan nodded and then walked into the courtyard with Iron Egg. However, Pang Feiji, who was at the back, had a strong sense of vigilance in his heart. He sensed an inexplicable sense of danger. You are. Pang Feiji stared at Lu Feng and Lu Yun and asked expressionlessly. Oh, you must be Pang Sigi? I'm Lu Feng, and this is my brother Lu Yun. We are from the Imperial Guards of the Northern Government. His Majesty sent us to protect Marquis and help Marquis search for ores. Lu Feng saw that Pang Feiji's posture was steady, and he walked like a soldier. Furthermore, Pang Feiji came down from the carriage with Li Zishuan. He thought for a while and guessed Pang Feiji's identity. Hence, he took the initiative to introduce himself. Pang Feiji's expression changed slightly, and he felt a little disappointed. He forced himself to calm down and saluted Lu Feng. Oh, so you two are from the Imperial Guards. Sorry for the disrespect. In the past, he was only a Sigu of the right Marquis household, while Lu Feng and Lu Yun were the Imperial Guards of the Northern Yamen. They were the elites of the elites in the Imperial Guard. Therefore, in terms of background, Pang Feiji was unconsciously lower than them. Lu Feng saluted with a smile. Haha, since we're all here to protect Marquis, then we'll be brothers in the future. There's no need to be polite. Hee hee, you're right. Brother Lu is right. I'll just return from Zhengzhou and have some matters to attend to. I won't keep you company. Pang Feiji forced a smile and saluted with a salute before taking his leave. Big brother, this Pang Feiji doesn't seem very happy to see us. Lu Yin scratched his head and looked at Lu Feng in confusion. Lu Feng looked at Pang Feiji's back and said lightly, no matter what, he was the first to follow Marquis. Now that he saw that we're here to protect Marquis, of course he would feel uncomfortable. This is human nature. Lu Yin suddenly understood. He frowned and said unhappily, but big brother, we didn't want to come. It was His Majesty who ordered us to come. Why is he angry with us? Sigh. Second brother, don't speak nonsense and offend others. We came to Cloud Mountain under His Majesty's orders to follow Marquis orders. Don't cause trouble. Go and tell the brothers to be respectful when they see Pang Feiji. Don't cause trouble. Lu Feng said sternly to Lu Yin. Yes, big brother. Hey, big brother, you're finally back. Pang Feiji returned to his house. After putting down his luggage, he met his brothers at the side of the courtyard. Xiongda, Xiong'er, come here. Pang Feiji had a question to ask. When he saw the two of them, he quickly waved his hand. Hey, big brother, you didn't get hurt in Zhengzhou, right? A fat soldier came over and held Pang Feiji's hand. He looked at him from head to toe. Hey, let go of me, I'm fine. Pang Feiji waved his hand and said seriously, let me ask you, when did Lu Feng, Lu Yun, and the rest arrive? Xiongda thought for a while and replied, big brother, they've only been here for 5 or 6 days. Then why did they come to protect Marquis? Could it be that someone tried to assassinate the Marquis while I was away? Pang Feiji asked doubtfully. Xiong'er shook his head and said, no, big brother, no one tried to assassinate Marquis. They came here under His Majesty's orders. Other than protecting Marquis, they also have to help Marquis look for ores in the future. It's said that Lu Feng and Lu Yun's ancestors were Taoist geomancers who specialize in searching for ores. However, Marquis hasn't assigned them a task yet, so they're staying here temporarily. Searching for ores? Pang Feiji's face became gloomy. At this moment, he felt like he was about to lose his job. Oh no, he was about to fall out of favor. This was because the person who stole his job seemed to be more talented than him. Chapter 1349. 2. In one chapter, when Iron Egg and the others came to the front yard, Han Yushi was sitting quietly in the front yard reading the newspaper. In recent issues of Tang Daily, almost all the news was about the specific plot of the Battle of Guan City. Because of Iron Egg, Han Yushi did not miss a single piece of news. Although there was not a single piece of news in it, there was a detailed record of Iron Egg's situation in Guan City. Sis! At this moment, a shout came from the courtyard door. Han Yushi's body trembled, and she quickly looked towards the source of the sound and saw Iron Egg running over. Iron Egg, you're back. Han Yushi stood up in surprise and went over to greet him. Iron Egg, you didn't get hurt in Guan City, right? Han Yushi pressed Iron Egg's shoulder and looked up and down at Iron Egg seriously. She asked with a face full of concern. Iron Egg thought of what Li Zixuan said in the carriage and couldn't help but feel a lump in his throat. He said with red eyes, Sis, I'm fine. I didn't get hurt either. Don't worry. Han Yushi held back her tears, patted Iron Egg's shoulder, and said, It's good that you didn't get hurt. It's good that you didn't get hurt. Iron Egg, you must not have eaten well these days in the army, right? Sis will make you something delicious for lunch. Yes, yes. Iron Egg nodded, and then he smiled happily and said, Sis, I have an official position this time. His Majesty made me the Deputy Commandant of Rinyong and gave me a lot of silk cloth. Silk cloth could be used as currency in this era. Han Yushi opened her eyes wide and said with a face full of surprise, His Majesty gave you an official position? Ha! Iron Egg, you've finally grown up. You're finally promising. If Dad knew, he would definitely be happy for you. Iron Egg said excitedly, Sister, not only did His Majesty give me an official position, he also pardoned Papa's crime of desertion. His Majesty said that there was a reason for what happened back then. Papa was a righteous man. So His Majesty gave Papa the rank of 6th rank Deputy Captain of Zhaowu. The grievances that Father has suffered all these years have finally been avenged. Han Yushi was stunned. She said in disbelief, What? His Majesty had pardoned Papa's crime of desertion and even bestowed Papa with an official position? Iron Egg, is this true? If that's really the case, then I'll send a letter to Father today to tell him the good news. As his daughter, Han Yushi knew the bitterness in Han Tianhu's heart all these years. Now that she suddenly heard that Han Tianhu's grievances were cleared and he was unexpectedly rewarded with an official position, her heart was immediately filled with joy. Ahem, of course it's true. I say, wife, if you two want to reminisce, why don't you go inside and slowly reminisce? You don't have to rush anyway, right? Li Zixuan, who was standing at the courtyard door, saw that the two siblings in the courtyard were about to have a long conversation and quickly interrupted them. As for Li Yu, who came back with them, she had already gotten off the carriage at the foot of Yinshan Mountain. Although Li Zixuan had prepared a celebratory banquet for her in the evening, it was only noon. She had come all the way back, so her colleagues in the editorial department were all worried about her. Oh, husband, you're back too? Han Yushi seemed to have woken up from a dream, but she regretted it as soon as the words came out of her mouth. Li Zixuan was speechless. He suddenly felt like he was hit by 10,000 points of critical damage. It turned out that he had been standing at the courtyard door for a long time, and his wife didn't even notice. He couldn't help but say sourly, Ahem, that's fine. Since my wife thinks that I'm back too early, then I'll go out for a walk again. After saying that, this fellow really turned around and prepared to go out. Han Yushi quickly came over to stop him. She looked at him unhappily and said, Husband, it was a slip of the tongue. Why are you still so angry? Iron Egg followed the army for more than half a month. My wife, you don't have to explain, I understand. Stop fooling around. Let's go back to the house and talk. Don't let others see us as a joke. Li Zixuan didn't mean to be angry with his wife. Hearing this, he laughed and turned around to pull his wife into the house. On the opposite side, Loner had already started arguing with Iron Egg. Iron Egg, is it fun to fight a war? It's not fun. People will die in war. Oh, then is there any fun place in Zhengzhou? Oh, other than many Buddhist temples there doesn't seem to be any fun places. Then did you meet any great masters in this war? How is it? Are they powerful? Are they as powerful as my brother? Iron Egg, underscore, if they were more powerful than my master, would I still be alive and standing in front of you now? The army returned in triumph. The victorious side was naturally happy, while the defeated side was disheartened and dejected. The Tang imperial court used this war to prove that its fangs were still sharp and even stronger than before. Those forces that were secretly waiting for an opportunity to stir up trouble were now hiding in dark corners, trembling. They had to reevaluate the imperial court's strength. Celestial lamp, telescope, and now a telegraph. The imperial court's army is getting more and more powerful. Chang'an City, Yinsho Square, in a house. Feng Jidai stood on the red attic, looking at the houses in the distance and sighing. Young master, the current emperor was able to eliminate the Chui family of Qinghe, the Zheng family of Xingyang, and the Chui family of Bowling in less than half a month. The imperial court strength is indeed much stronger than 2 years ago. But why did the imperial court suddenly become so powerful for no reason? I really can't figure it out. Feng Jidai's guard, Mu, couldn't help but say. Feng Jidai sneered and said, 2 years ago, Shili Khan led the army to Chang and City, and the emperor emptied the Chang and treasury in exchange for a temporary peace. Since then, the imperial court had no money and no food, and its strength was naturally not as strong as before. But since last year, Li Zishuan encouraged the emperor to send a fleet to the south for sea trade, and then the imperial court set up a department of shipping in the Guangdong coastal area to trade with the Nanyang countries. It could be said that the imperial court made a lot of money. Now the imperial court doesn't lack money or food, and the annual income from sea trade is even comparable to the tax income of the previous 5 years. Plus, the imperial court doesn't lack good soldiers at all. So how can it not be strong? The 3 aristocratic families were also unlucky to choose to go against the imperial court at this time. No doubt they were digging their own graves. Not to mention, in this war, Li Zishuan's celestial lamp and telescope foresight, as well as the telegraph from thousands of miles away, the imperial court's army is like a tiger with wings. How can the aristocratic families fight against it? Now, in the whole world, I'm afraid only the Turks, Goryeo, and Tibetans can fight against the imperial court of the Tang Empire. The guard's expression changed, and he hesitated. Then, young master, will our Lingnan also completely submit to the imperial court? Feng Jidai nodded and said, after the emperor destroyed the 3 aristocratic families with a thunderous force, the other aristocratic families will definitely not dare to do anything. The Tang Empire's territory is basically completely stable, and the imperial court's next target is the Turks in the north. The Tang Empire's edge is getting stronger and stronger, and with the current state, the chances of winning against the Turks are very high. When the Turks are destroyed, it's probably time for Father to completely hand over the military power of Lingnan. Otherwise, at this point, Feng Jidai didn't continue speaking, but everyone understood what he meant. The guard didn't understand and said, young master, the imperial court of the Tang Empire is indeed tyrannical, but the Turks are known to have millions of soldiers controlling the strings. Once the war starts, I'm afraid the outcome will be difficult to predict. Right? Feng Jidai looked towards the cloud mountains in the east and said faintly, although the Turks are strong, with Li Zishuan, the Tang Empire's army will only be stronger. 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next day, after Li Zishuan woke up, he was practicing his sword in the front yard when he heard the sound of orderly footsteps and chant from outside the yard. His heart skipped a beat, and he walked out of the yard. Looking in the direction of the sound, he saw Pang Feiji leading a few dozen soldiers running over from the mountain path, not far away. When Li Zishuan saw this, he couldn't help but mutter in his heart. What was wrong with Pang Feiji? Why did he suddenly become so diligent? Coincidentally, Pang Feiji also saw Li Zishuan, so he quickly increased his speed and ran over. In a short while, he was in front of Li Zishuan. He clasped his fist and bowed to Li Zishuan. Marquis, good morning." His voice was full of vigor and vitality. Lisa Schwan was stunned and asked, "Spring is here?" The subtext was that spring was here, and it was time to XX. Pang Feiji was instantly stunned. "Ah, Marquis, what spring is here? Hasn't spring been here for a long time?" Facing such a humorless subordinate, Lisa Schwan couldn't help but roll his eyes, and then said unhappily, "I'm saying what's wrong with you today. Why are you leading people to train so early?" "Oh, Marquis, you're talking about this." Pang Feiji scratched his head, gave a silly laugh, and replied, "This time when your subordinate was following the army, I saw a few of the great general soldiers. Even if they were fighting outside, they would still persevere in their training every morning. Your subordinate thought, ever since we brothers of the Wu Ho government followed you, Marquis, we have been slacking in our training. But you, Marquis, have always been so kind to our brothers. Your subordinate is really ashamed, so I thought from today onwards, I will turn over a new leaf and become a new person. We must also persevere in our training every morning. This way we can better protect Marquis." After hearing this, Lisa Schwan couldn't help but widen his eyes, as if it was the first day he met Pang Feiji. He seriously looked at this guy and said with a smile, "Ah, I didn't know that a non-gay like you would have this kind of awareness." Pang Feiji immediately straightened his back and said loudly with a serious face, "As Marquis's personal guard, of course we have to train hard. If not, when Marquis is in danger, how can we protect Marquis?" Seeing how serious he was, Lisa Schwan almost believed him, but taking the initiative to train was a good thing, as it could reduce one's laziness. He didn't want to discourage Pang Feiji's enthusiasm, so after pausing for a moment, he waved his hand and said, "All right, I am very satisfied that you guys have this kind of heart. Then you guys train hard. I will go to the academy later." "Yes, Marquis." After receiving Lisa Schwan's affirmation, Pang Feiji shouted excitedly, then turned around and said, "Everyone listen to my orders. From here to the foot of the mountain, run another 10 rounds. "Ah, 10 rounds? Boss, are you joking?" Below, there was a wave of complaints. "Brother Pang, isn't 10 rounds a little too much?" At this moment, Lu Feng happened to pass by and couldn't help but interrupt. It was fine if he didn't say anything, but once he did, Pang Feiji instantly became anxious. He shouted excitedly, "What do you mean by too much? It's not too much at all." For this rebellion in Zhengzhou, the brothers from the left and right guard camps could march hundreds of miles day and night. Why didn't they shout too much? Why didn't they say they were tired? "Everyone turn back. Start running." These words seemed to be directed at Lisa Schwan's personal guards, but more like they were directed at Lu Feng. Bang, bang, bang. Dozens of personal guards, under Pang Feiji's lead, began their training again, sweating profusely. Lisa Schwan immediately understood. It turned out that Brother Chicken was so diligent today because Lu Feng and Lu Yun's arrival made this fellow feel a sense of danger. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. Although he could see it, he didn't intend to interfere. Healthy competition was good for mutual improvement, and this was something he was happy to see. As long as these two parties didn't do anything out of line, it would be fine. After breakfast, Lisa Schwan left the courtyard and walked toward the academy. Yesterday afternoon, he informed Yin Silu to gather the students at the field after breakfast. He had something to announce. Speaking of which, when he first transmigrated, he especially liked to sleep in. However, ever since he broke through to the Grandmaster realm in the second half of last year, he couldn't sleep in every morning even if he wanted to. He also seriously thought about this problem and came to a conclusion. First, there were no mobile phones or computers in ancient times. Other than hugging his wife to sleep at night, there seemed to be no other way to pass the time, so he went to bed early. Second, ever since he became a martial Dao Grandmaster, the time he needed to sleep every day became less and less. Now, he usually only needed to sleep for 4 hours a day. After sleeping for 2 hours, his mind would become extremely clear. Therefore, in the past, he would still sleep in bed in the morning, but later he would wake up early every day to practice martial arts. He wanted to do something else, but early in the morning, he had nothing else to do except practice martial arts. Therefore, Li Zixuan had now become a hardworking martial arts maniac. Although his martial arts realm had not increased, his martial arts foundation had become even more stable. The current him was like a treasured sword with a restrained edge. On the outside, he looked simple and unadorned, but once the treasured sword was unsheathed, it would definitely be cold and threatening. When he arrived at the academy, the sun had just risen. When Mo Zhong saw Li Zixuan, he greeted him from afar and said, "Yamacho, the students have already gathered at the field. All the teachers in the academy have just gone there. You should be just in time." Li Zixuan nodded and said, "Well, I'll go there now." After that, he walked straight to the field on the left. Chapter 1350. On the sports field of Yanhuang College, the students stood in 16 square formations according to their classes. The sun had just risen, and the rays of the morning sun shone on their backs, elongating long shadows. "Hey, why do you think Yamacho called us here today? I guess they have something to announce." "What is it? How would I know?" "Hey, have you heard? Meng Wenhao and Iron Egg, who went with the Imperial Army, have returned to the academy today." "Really?" "Of course it's true. I just saw them in the dining hall." "Wow, I heard they won the battle in Zhengzhou and were rewarded by His Majesty yesterday." "That's amazing. They are indeed amazing, but they deserve the reward. After all, they exchanged their lives for merit. By the way, did Yamacho call us here today because of this matter?" "Hey, that's possible. Meng Wenhao and Iron Egg are in the limelight this time. They were just rewarded by His Majesty in front of all the civil and military officials, and today they are praised by Yamacho in public. How enviable." "It's useless to be envious. If it were you, would you dare to go to the battlefield?" Forget about going to the battlefield. I'm the only son of 3 generations in my family. My father and mother will never let me go to the battlefield." The students whispered in private, guessing the purpose of Li Zixuan calling them here today. After all, a gathering of all the teachers and students was not common. Generally, only the opening ceremony, midterm, or final exam commendation meetings would gather all the teachers and students of the academy. "Wenhao, Iron Egg, tell me honestly, did Yamacho call us here to praise you?" In the group of students in Class 1, Sun Zifan nudged Meng Wenhao and Iron Egg on the right and in front of him with his shoulders and asked in a low voice. Meng Wenhao tilted his head back imperceptibly and replied in a low voice, "We don't know about this. Yamacho didn't tell us about this yesterday." Chung Chumo curled his lips like a resentful wife and said pitifully, "Oomph. It's a pity that they didn't let me go this time. If they let me go, I might be the one who killed the enemy generals." "Hey, Yamacho is here. Yamacho is here. Be quiet." At this moment, Li Zixuan walked up to the rostrum on the west side of the sports field. The students who had been whispering a moment ago immediately quieted down. Only the sound of the wind and the chirping of the birds could be heard in the huge field. Li Zixuan was silent for a moment before speaking. "A few days ago, Zhengzhou's Qinghe Chui clan openly rebelled against the imperial court. His Majesty ordered Duke Wei to lead his troops down south to quell the rebels. I'm sure all of you have heard about this matter, right?" "Yes." When the students heard Li Zixuan mention this, they understood what Li Zixuan was going to say next. He was going to commend Meng Wenhao and Iron Egg for their outstanding contributions in this war. Li Zixuan nodded and continued. "Chui Junshuo, the old master of the Chui family, has gone against the law and tried to instigate the people to rebel. For his own selfish desires, he even wanted to sacrifice the lives of millions of ordinary people. How sad and crazy he is." Fortunately, Liu, a reporter from Tang Daily, brought the news of the Chui family's rebellion back to Chang, and in time. That was why the imperial court had the chance to rush to Guan City before the Chui family arrived at Luoyang. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Speaking of Liu, some of you know her, but some of you don't. Although she is a girl and can't study at Yanhuang College, I have always treated her as my student. People say that women are inferior to men, but speaking of Liu, how many of you are better than her? When the chaos of war comes, how many of you will be able to rush to the battlefield without hesitation and not be afraid in the face of danger, wholeheartedly looking for a way to break out of the situation and silently passing on useful information? As soon as he said this, the students were all silent, and many of them lowered their heads. If they asked themselves honestly if war broke out in the world, there would be very few of them who dared to rush to the front line. After all, they were literati, not military men. Most literati cherish their lives. Seeing this, Li Zishuan said in a deep voice, "Do you still remember what I said to you during the military training last year? As long as Yin and Huang do not die, the Han family will not be destroyed. Blood inscribed on the dagger axe. Blood will never stop flowing. Do you still remember these 16 words?" Yes. Previously, when they were criticized by Li Zishuan, the students felt guilty at first, but then they were not convinced. When they heard Li Zishuan mention last year's opening ceremony, all the students' thoughts involuntarily drifted to last year's September. On the rostrum, Li Zishuan said loudly, "Since you all still remember, then shout it for me again. As long as Yin and Huang do not die, the Han family will not be destroyed. Blood engraved on the dagger axe. Blood will never stop flowing." More than 600 students, hearing this, all shouted in unison. Their shouts seemed to pierce the sky and tear the earth apart. It could be described as magnificent. Under the influence of this atmosphere, the students' blood was thoroughly stimulated. Each of them looked at Li Zishuan with a determined gaze, as if they were on a pilgrimage. "Good." Li Zishuan laughed and said, "These words, I hope you all can remember them for the rest of your lives. Not only do you have to remember them, but you also have to use practical actions to practice them. This time, our academy has 2 students who participated in the Zhengzhou Rebellion, and they have obtained great military merits. They are Meng Wenhao and Han Li from Class 1. In this war, although they were behind the enemy, they relied on their skillful control of the telegraph and celestial lamp to exchange information between the army and Li Yu in Guangxing County, making considerable contributions. In order to commend their contributions, yesterday His Majesty has conferred Meng Wenhao the title of Wenlin Lang and Han Li the title of Ren Yong Deputy Lieutenant. When this was said, the students below the stage exclaimed. They were all students of Yanhuan College, but Meng Wenhao and Iron Egg were both officials. This made most people very envious. After all, in this era, who didn't learn civil and martial arts and sell goods to the emperor's family? In addition to Meng Wenhao and Han Li, there is also Li Tai. He is responsible for the communication between the imperial palace and the army at the front line, and his contributions are great. In the future, as long as the students of the academy have achieved great military merits, regardless of whether the imperial court rewards them or not, our academy will reward them. Depending on the merit, the reward will range from 100 to 1,000 Tang Yuan, and also a Yamacho honor medal. This is because not only did they earn honor for themselves, but they also earned honor for Yanhuan College. Therefore, I announce that the 3 students who contributed to the rebellion will each be rewarded with 300 Tang Yuan and a Yamacho honor medal. Wow! The students below the stage exclaimed again. What was the Mountain Chieftain Medal of Honor? Let's not talk about it for now, but 300 Tang Yuan was a real benefit. Logically speaking, it was not a small amount. One must know that the key person in this rebellion, Lu Rengue, was only rewarded with 100,000 copper coins in addition to his official position in the imperial court. How much was 100,000 copper coins? It was only about 100 strings of coins. However, Li Zishuan rewarded 300 Tang Yuan, which was considered a big deal. Now that we are done talking about the rewards for the 3 of them, let's talk about the rest of you. Li Zishuan saw the envious expressions of the students below the stage. He paused for a moment and said, "I know that many of you are envious of Meng Wenhao and Iron Egg for having such a good opportunity to contribute. It is a good thing that you can emulate them. A soldier who doesn't want to be a general will never be a good soldier. However, You don't have to be envious, and you don't have to be discouraged because what I'm going to talk about next will give you a chance to contribute in the future. Last year, I went against the opposition of the imperial court and founded Yanhuang College. Until now, many people still don't understand what Yanhuang College is for. Actually, the purpose of Yanhuang College is very simple, and that is to benefit the world. If a worker wants to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. Unlike Confucianism, Yanhuang College aims to bring the most direct benefits to the people. To put it more bluntly, Yanhuang College aims to equip the Tang Dynasty's army to be even sharper. Why were Meng Wenhao and Han Li able to contribute this time? Other than having a brave and fearless heart, it was also because they had telegraphs and celestial lamps. These were all created with the knowledge of Yanhuang College. But it was simply impossible to rely on these two things to make the great Tang invincible. Therefore, there must be thousands of divine tools similar to telegraphs and celestial lamps. Today, I will give this task to you. I will give it a sacred name, the 100 Trump Cards Project. As the name suggests, this mission consists of 100 small missions, and the effective period of each mission is 20 years. Within these 20 years, all students of Yanhuang Academy, as long as you have a good idea, pay attention, it must be the kind that can make the Tang Empire stronger. You can come to me with your proposal. I will evaluate the practicality and feasibility of your proposal. Once your proposal is valued by me, it will be listed as one of the 100 killer projects. At that time, you can gather the strength of all the teachers and students of the Academy to complete your proposal. During this period, the Academy will provide you with all the manpower, material, and financial resources. As long as it is useful to complete the project, the Academy will support you unconditionally, no matter how much it costs. Once the project is completed, all the teachers and students who participated in the Trump Cards project will not only receive a huge reward from the Academy, I will also ask the Imperial Court for a reward. At that time, the Imperial Court will also give you a reward. It may be a promotion or a life of wealth. No matter which it is, you will be famous all over the world. In addition to your own proposals, the Academy will also regularly release some predetermined Trump Cards projects. At that time, outstanding students with excellent grades and abilities will be selected to join the Trump Cards project. Therefore, if you want to stand out, you must study hard and take every exam seriously. In short, the Trump Card project can be a good idea for the people, such as the curved plow, or it can be a good idea for the military, such as the celestial lamp or the telegraphs. No matter what it is, since it is called a Trump Card, it must ensure that the Tang Dynasty is far ahead of the rest of the world in a certain aspect. Chapter 1351. A few days ago, Li Er had come to Yanhuang College to urge Li Zishuan to speed up the popularization of the telegraph in the Great Tang Army. At that time, Li Zishuan had already deeply felt the urgency in Li Er's heart. As for why Li Er was so anxious, anyone could guess it. Old Li was anxious to fight the Turks. Now that the internal factors of unrest in the Great Tang had basically been eliminated and there was a stable environment in the rear, Li Er's next goal was as clear as day: to attack the Turks and wash away the humiliation of the Wei River Alliance. It was precisely for this reason that Li Er impatiently urged Li Zishuan to equip the army with the telegraph as soon as possible after seeing the huge role it played in quelling the rebellion in Guanxing. After all, in the vast grasslands, the communication between the various armies was also a considerable problem. However, the current reality was that the telegraph was still immature. The transmission power of the telegraph needed to be increased to increase the transmission distance of the telegraph. In this era, where the foundation of electronic circuits was basically zero, this was undoubtedly a rather difficult project. Li Zishuan, with the knowledge in his mind and his powerful mental strength, could indeed think of a way to modify the telegraph by himself, but he didn't want to do so. Teaching students was actually like taking care of children. As parents, if they always helped their children do everything well, then their children would never truly grow up. Similarly, as a Yamacho, If he always rushed to the forefront and paved all the paths for his students, then his students would only follow the path he paved for them for their entire lives and would never discover a new path. Little did they know that all roads lead to Rome, and there would always be more than one path to success. Such students would lack a lot of subjective initiative, and in the end, they would grow up to be the same as being carved out of mold. This wasn't what Li Zixuan wanted to see. It was precisely due to these factors that Li Zixuan came up with the 100 Trump Cards project. Firstly, it was to promote the growth of the students, and secondly, it was to promote the development of Great Tang's basic technology and develop the most advanced technology, creating even more trump cards for Great Tang. The celestial lamp and telegraph machine were just the beginning. In the future, Great Tang would have many more amazing things than celestial lamps and telegraph machines. Of course, one of the important factors that made Li Zixuan make up his mind to use the 100 trump cards was what Li Er had said last time. If this matter succeeds, I will guarantee the glory of Yanhuang College for generations to come and rest with the country. Yanhuang College had deviated from the root of Confucianism. The main reason why it could still exist in the world was that Li Zixuan had won the support of Li Er, the ruler of the Tang Empire. If this support was lost, it could be said that Yanhuang College would quickly collapse under the crusade of the world in less than a month. And the reason why Li Er valued Yanhuang College so much was because Yanhuang College could bring advanced technology and tools to Great Tang that the entire world didn't have. If Li Zixuan wanted Yanhuang College to exist in the world for a long time, he had to let Li Er see the value of Yanhuang College. Only then would Li Er do his best to support Yanhuang College. Therefore, the 100 Trump Cards project was not only a plan to strengthen the country, but also an act of survival for Yanhuang College. Only by creating more advanced technological products could the Tang Empire become stronger. Only by creating more advanced technological products could the Tang Empire become stronger. Only by doing so could the status of the Yanhuang Academy become more stable. It was so stable that no one could shake it. It was so stable that it could exist forever. On the field, after hearing Li Zixuan's grand plan, all the teachers and students were stunned. What a big deal. All the teachers and students of Yanhuang College couldn't help but be shocked by Li Zixuan's boldness and magnanimity. Even more so, they were deeply attracted by Li Zixuan's grand blueprint. As long as they could participate in the Trump Cards project, not only would they be able to receive generous rewards from the Academy, but they might even be promoted and become famous all over the world. Compared to the Imperial examination, the Trump Cards project was undoubtedly closer to them. And once it was successful, the rewards would be even greater than the Imperial examination. Most of the students couldn't help but be tempted at this moment. On the rostrum, Li Zixuan looked at the students' reactions and was very satisfied. He pondered for a moment, then continued, "A sharp blade can hurt the enemy, but it can also hurt oneself. The Trump Cards project is a divine weapon that will benefit the country. However, if this divine weapon falls into the hands of people with evil intentions, or into the hands of other countries, it will bring great trouble to Great Tang. Therefore, today, in the name of Yamacho, I announce that the Trump Cards project is Yanhuang College's top secret plan. All participants are not allowed to tell their relatives or friends about it, and they're also not allowed to disclose it to foreigners. Anyone who leaks this secret will be charged with treason and handed over to the Supreme Court for capital punishment. Moreover, those who leak this secret will become the common enemy of all the teachers and students of Yanhuang College, and everyone has the right to punish them. In order to cultivate the awareness of confidentiality among all the teachers and students of the Academy, I have formulated a book called Yanhuang College's Confidentiality Regulations. Later, the teachers of each class will distribute the regulations to each class. All students must study it seriously and implement it in their future lives and studies. From next week onwards, every Friday afternoon, the Academy will hold a secret exam for all students. The contents of the exam are all from the Yanhuang College's confidentiality regulations. The full score is 100. If you score less than 90, you will be disqualified. The secret exam will be held once every Friday, and it will be held 4 times in a row. All students must participate. Students who score less than 90 points 4 times in a row will be ordered to withdraw from the academy. Please note that this is a mandatory requirement, and no one is allowed to be lenient. Not only will the students have to take the secret exam, but all the teachers of the academy will also have to take the secret exam. However, the difference is that if the teachers of the academy score less than 90 points once, they will not be allowed to participate in any teaching activities in the academy in the future. They can be responsible for the logistics of the academy, and they can also apply to leave the academy. The secret exam for the teachers of the academy would be held every Saturday morning. Therefore, if you want to continue to stay in Yanhuang College, you must take the secret exam seriously. Some of you might think that I, the Yamacho of Yanhuang College, am too lenient. However, as students of Yanhuang College, you have received the most advanced engineering knowledge in the world. If you can't keep the secret, then Tang Empire will suffer a huge loss because of you leaking the secret. In the worst-case scenario, if one of you leaks the secret, it might even lead to the destruction of Tang Empire. Once a citizen of Yanhuang, forever a citizen of Yanhuang. From the first day you stepped into the gates of the Yanhuang Academy, you have shouldered the heavy responsibility of revitalizing the Tang Empire. The knowledge you have learned in the academy is immortal knowledge that others can't even dream of. If this knowledge is used well, it can make the Tang Empire stronger. But if it is passed to other countries, it can also make other countries stronger. Therefore, as students of Yanhuang College, your first priority is not how good your grades are, but to keep the secret. Leaking the secret is tantamount to treason, and the people of Yanhuang will punish you. Do you understand? Confidentiality regulations, confidentiality exam. Leaking the secret is tantamount to treason. At first, the teachers and students below the stage didn't take Li Zishuan's words seriously. However, as Li Zishuan continued to speak, everyone's expression turned serious. Those who fail the exam would be expelled from the academy, and those who leaked the secret were tantamount to treason. These 2 punishments were too severe. After living and studying in Yanhuang College for nearly a year, it could be said that most of the students and teachers had already fallen in love with Yanhuang College and considered themselves a part of Yanhuang College. Now that a secret exam had appeared out of nowhere, if they failed, they would be expelled from the academy. How could they accept this? Understood. The teachers and students below the stage responded in unison. At this moment, everyone had made up their minds. No matter how much content there was in the Yanhuang College confidentiality regulations, they had to find time to memorize all of it. Otherwise, if they were expelled from the academy because of this, how wronged would that be? Good. Since you all understand, let's go back to class. Li Zishuan nodded and said. Hearing this, the students on the field left in order. Marquis, the Wei Nation's big brother Mountain Back wants to see you. In the afternoon, not long after Li Zishuan returned from Yanhuang College, Pang Feiji came in to report. Big brother Mountain Back? What's he doing here? Li Zishuan frowned and couldn't help but think of the scene when Li Daozong brought Big Brother Mountain Back to visit Yanhuang College. One thing he was sure of was that Big Brother Mountain Back was definitely interested in the knowledge of Yanhuang College. He wanted to steal the knowledge and then bring it back to Wei Nation to strengthen their national strength. Li Zishuan was a transmigrator with a strong grudge against the Wei Nation. How could he allow the evil plan of the Mountain Back Big Brother King to succeed? Li Zishuan was an angry youth who had a strong grudge against the Wei Nation. Therefore, when Big Brother Shanbei visited the academy last time, he was not allowed to enter the classroom other than the Confucian Classics classes of the academy. Now that this guy came to Yinshan again, Li Zishuan felt a little impatient. Tell him that I'm unwell and can't see guests. Tell him to go back. After thinking for a moment, Li Zishuan waved his hand and said he didn't like trouble and didn't want to waste time with Big Brother Mountain Back. Besides, he didn't have time now. Yes, Marquis. Pang Feiji cupped his hands and left. At the gate of the courtyard, Pang Feiji said to Big Brother Mountain Back, my marquis is unwell and can't see guests. Please come back another day. Big Brother Mountain Back was disappointed. He came here today to send the beauty. How could he be willing to go back like this? In fact, according to the plan, he should have come earlier. However, the ship that Wei Nation escorted the beauty encountered a storm at sea. Many people died, including the beauties that Emperor Tugu helped him choose. Most of them died at sea. But fortunately, there were still some beauties who survived. Moreover, this beauty who survived had the noblest status and the most outstanding beauty. However, his plan to send beauties to curry favor with Li Zishuan had been delayed for a long time because of this. It wasn't until today that he finally sent the beauties over, but he didn't expect to be met with a closed door. The big brother on a mountain back hesitated for a moment, then cupped his hands and said, "Dare I ask what illness the Marquis is suffering from? I know a few famous Wei Nation doctors. If Marquis needs..." Pang Feiji secretly thought that this person did not know what was good for him. Normally, when a host said something like, "My body is unwell and it is inconvenient for me to see guests," it meant that he did not want to see guests. However, he was afraid that saying it directly would hurt people, so he used such a euphemistic way of saying it. However, the big brother on the mountain actually thought that Li Zishuan was sick and even wanted to help find a doctor. In Pang Feiji's eyes, wasn't this cursing Li Zishuan to be sick? This was outrageous. It had to be said that the Tang people were arrogant. Once people became arrogant, they would be unreasonable. If Big Brother Mountain Back could read Pang Feiji's mind, he would definitely cry out that he was wronged. Although he knew some Chinese, he didn't know much about the profound language and culture of the Chinese people. At this time, Pang Feiji's face turned cold, and he said coldly, "Your Excellency, there are many famous doctors in Tang. You don't have to worry about Marquis' health. My Marquis needs to rest now. Please go back." "Hey, but..." Big Brother Mountain Back still wanted to say something, but he was pulled back by Yoko Ono behind him. He quickly shut his mouth. "Your Highness, it seems like the Marquis of Yong and doesn't want to see us now. Why don't we go back first, but leave the gifts? When the Marquis of Yong and sees the gifts we prepared for him, he will definitely be willing to see us. We just need to go back and wait for the news. If we stay here in a stalemate, we will only annoy the Marquis of Yongin." Yoko Ono whispered into the ear of her big brother, who was at the back of the mountain. Big Brother Mountain Back nodded to himself. He then clasped his hands at Pang Feiji and said politely, "Since the Marquis of Yong and is not seeing guests today, I will come another day. If the Marquis of Yong and needs anything, just let me know. Whatever the Wei Nation can offer, I will give it to the Marquis of Yongin. Goodbye." After saying that, the mountain-back Big Brother King waved his hand and led his subordinates away without hesitation. His straightforward attitude made Pang Feiji have a good impression of him. "Hey, stop." Pang Feiji suddenly felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly shouted at the back of Big Brother Mountain Back and said, "You forgot to take your carriage." Unexpectedly, Big Brother Mountain Back and his men did not stop. Instead, they walked faster and faster. They only left a sentence in the air. "In the carriage is the gift I prepared for the Marquis of Yong. Although the Marquis of Yong and is not seeing guests today, according to the rules of the Tang Empire, there is no way to take back a gift that has been given out. So, please accept the gift in the carriage." After saying that, Big Brother Mountain Back and his men had already disappeared from sight. "Hey, stop." Pang Feiji was so angry that he almost cursed. From what he heard, Li Zishuan did not want to have anything to do with the people of Wei Nation. Why would he accept a gift from them? Looking at the pink, draped carriage, Pang Feiji was in a dilemma. Should he pull the gift into the courtyard for Li Zishuan, or should he just throw it down the mountain? "Men, push this carriage down the mountain." After thinking for a long time, Pang Feiji made a decision and ordered. Chapter 1352. 2 in 1 chapter. Yes, boss. In front of the Yunshan villa, after hearing Pang Feiji's order, the guards cupped their fists and answered. Then they drove the carriage down the hill. Help! Help! Suddenly, a hurried cry for help came from the carriage. The person who called for help did not speak standard Chinese. It was only 3 words, but it seemed very difficult and awkward for her to say them. Pang Feiji's hearing was excellent. How could he not hear it? He was about to stop her, but the 2 soldiers driving the carriage were faster than him. They jumped down from the front of the carriage. Boss, boss, there's someone in the carriage. At first, when they heard the king say that there were gifts in the carriage, they subconsciously believed him. However, when they heard a woman's voice coming from the carriage, they were immediately frightened. Pang Feiji was puzzled. His first thought was that the king had hidden an assassin in the carriage. When Li Zixuan opened the carriage and checked the gifts, the assassin would take the opportunity to attack. However, after thinking about it carefully, Pang Feiji felt that something was wrong. Assassinating Li Zixuan would not benefit the nation's ambassador at all. Besides, the person in the carriage was a woman. How could the nation's ambassador send a female assassin? Who's playing tricks on the carriage? Why don't you come down quickly? Pang Feiji put his right hand on the hilt of his sword and shouted into the carriage. General, please spare my life. I am the nation's princess, sent by Her Majesty to marry Marquis Yong. The curtain of the carriage was lifted. A petite, bright-eyed woman wearing a bright red robe with a row of butterfly buttons in the middle and an orange-red pleated skirt walked out of the carriage. Looking at her attire, her style was very similar to that of women in the Central Plains. However, this kind of pleated upper robe style was quite rare. In fact, this was related to the time when Prince Shengde sent the Sui Dynasty's ambassador to the Sui Dynasty to learn Han culture and introduced it to the country. At that time, not only was there the Sui Dynasty's Confucianism, Buddhism, and official system, there's also the Han people style of dress. In the middle of the Tang Dynasty, after the rulers sent a large number of envoys to the Tang Dynasty, Japan actively introduced the Tang Dynasty Han-style clothing. The so-called Tang-style clothing also became popular among the Japanese people. In modern Japan, the kimono was formed on the basis of the Tang Dynasty clothing. The kimono was an imitation or remake of traditional Han clothing. It completely inherited the main characteristics of traditional Han clothing with wide sleeves and no buttons. Judging from the woman's face alone, she was very beautiful. All the guards were dumbfounded at first, but Pang Feiji reacted quickly. His expression changed, and he said sternly, "Did you just say that you are the princess sent by the Japanese empress to marry Marquis?" Pang Feiji's words woke everyone up. These soldiers reacted one after another and quickly shifted their gazes elsewhere. The woman who came out of the carriage frowned when she heard Pang Feiji's words. It seemed that she was trying her best to understand the meaning of Pang Feiji's words. After a while, she said in her non-standard Han accent, "I am Princess Mingda of the Wen Nation. I am here to marry the Marquis of Yong'an. General, please go in and help me pass the message. Let me see the Marquis of Yong'an, Princess of the Wen Nation." Pang Feiji's expression changed greatly. This matter was not going to end well. Since the other party was the Princess of the Wen Nation, she represented the royal family of the Wen Nation. Even if Li Zixuan did not want to see the Wen Nation's people, he could not directly refuse to see the Wen Nation's princess. After all, this involved the diplomatic relations between the 2 countries. "You guys look after her. I will go and inform Marquis." Pang Feiji glanced at the woman in front of the carriage and ordered, then turned and walked into the courtyard. Princess of the Wen Nation? Marriage? In the study, after Li Zixuan heard Pang Feiji's report, he could not help but frown. He really did not expect that his brother on a mountain back would send him a woman. Moreover, it was a princess. This made things difficult for him. Let's go and have a look. Since she was the princess of the Wen Nation, she represented the royal family of the Wen Nation. Although the Wen Nation was now a subordinate of the Tang Empire, if he casually trampled on the dignity of the Wen Nation's royal family, the Wen Nation's royal family could not do anything to Li Zixuan. However, many civil officials in the imperial court would accuse him of deliberately provoking the dispute between the 2 countries and losing the dignity of a great country. This era was so magical. Husband, this concubine heard a commotion outside. Did something happen? When Li Zixuan passed by the main hall with Pang Feiji, Han Yushi happened to come down from upstairs. The husband and wife bumped into each other. Han Yushi looked at Li Zixuan and asked. Pang Feiji secretly felt that something was wrong. The nation's ambassador sent a woman to Marquis. How could Marquis's wife bump into them? Wouldn't this cause a dispute in the backyard? Although it was common for men to have 3 wives and 4 concubines in this era, those families with 3 wives and 4 concubines were generally full of all kinds of open and secret struggles. After all, no woman would want her husband to have a concubine. Pang Feiji secretly prayed in his heart that the 2 people in front of him would not quarrel. Otherwise, the house would not be peaceful. As subordinates, they would definitely not have a good life in the future. Oh, wife. It seems that the nation's ambassador sent a woman over. I will go and send her away. Li Zixuan's expression remained the same as he smiled at Han Yushi before he spoke. Brother Chicken couldn't help but secretly sweat for Li Zixuan. Shouldn't this kind of thing be done secretly? Who would be like Li Zixuan to say it directly in front of his wife? This guy didn't know that Li Zixuan was not interested in the so-called One Nation's princess at all. After all, in Li Zixuan's plan, destroying One Nation was something that would happen sooner or later. So, he didn't want to have anything to do with One Nation at this time. Besides, in his impression, weren't the ancient One Nation's women very ugly? When Han Yushi heard this, she suddenly felt a little flustered in her heart. However, after seeing Li Zixuan's face with a clear conscience, her anxious heart immediately calmed down. Husband, I will go with you. Han Yushi mustered up her courage and said to Li Zixuan. Why? Wife, are you worried about your husband? Li Zixuan couldn't help but laugh. No, of course not. Husband, don't misunderstand, Han Yushi quickly explained, but was interrupted by Li Zixuan. Wife, you don't have to explain. Let's go out and have a look. After saying that, he took Han Yushi's hand and walked out of the house. Pang Feiji, who was behind them, saw this and breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he quickly followed them out. When they arrived outside the courtyard, Li Zixuan and Han Yushi finally saw the One Nation's princess that Pang Feiji had mentioned. They saw that the woman's beautiful hair was tied up high on both sides, revealing her white and delicate neck. Her eyelashes fluttered outwards, like a young girl slowly opening an umbrella in Jiangnan's rain town, arching into a moving arc. Her face was lightly powdered, maintaining her natural beauty, but adding a touch of charm to it. She wore a red robe and an orange pleated skirt, which added a bit of charm to the woman. Li Zixuan couldn't help but frown because the woman in front of him was dressed differently from what he had seen in Japanese period dramas in his previous life. Didn't they say that the ancient One Nation's women liked to use a thick layer of powder to make their faces look like ghosts? But the One Nation's woman in front of him was clearly dressed like the Tang Empire's women. In fact, Li Zixuan's impression of the pale white clothing did exist in One Nation's history, but it didn't exist in the current era of flying birds. It only began to appear in the later Heian era. Our people had developed all kinds of powders as early as the Shang Dynasty. In ancient times, there were mainly 2 types of powders used by women. One was the natural powder that was made by soaking rice and repeatedly grinding it, precipitating and filtering it. The other was the poisonous and harmful metal lead powder. However, it was said that lead powder was clearer than natural white powder. So, in order to be beautiful, the ancient women walked the path of self-destruction without hesitation. The production of lead powder was very complicated. It needed to be placed in a wooden bucket and placed on a magnetic pot filled with diluted acetic acid. Then, it needed to be slowly heated with charcoal so that the lead would be affected by the acetic acid vapor and undergo various chemical changes to become lead powder. Therefore, Japan, which was technologically backward at that time, had never been able to develop lead powder for makeup and could only rely on imports. It wasn't until 692 AD that Dorai monk Guan Sheng successfully produced lead powder in Japan. This scientific research achievement was greatly praised by the empress and the emperor. As a result, Nation's women gradually became popular with a new kind of clothing. They would shave all their eyebrows, paint their teeth black, and cover their faces with white powder. It sounded a bit like a dead person's clothing, but Japanese men like this style. You must be the Marquis of Yong'an. Nation's Princess Mingda Suo, Xiaomu, greets the Marquis of Yong'an. From now on, you are Xiaomu's husband. The Nation's woman saw that although Li Zixuan was dressed in ordinary clothes, his dignified aura showed that he had been in a high position for a long time. So, she quickly walked over and bowed. Han Yushi's expression changed. Li Zixuan squeezed his wife's hand, then looked at Su Xiaomu and asked, "You are Su Xiaomu, or the Nation's royal princess? What does Su Xiai have to do with you?" When Li Xiaogong was fighting with Nation, Li Zixuan also took the opportunity to learn about the current situation in Nation. He knew that the Suwa family was the top family in Nation, and now only the top families in Nation had surnames. Ordinary people generally only had names, not surnames. So, when he heard the woman in front of him called Su Xiaomu, Li Zixuan thought of Su Xiai, who had been killed by Li Xiaogong. A trace of fear flashed in Su Xiaomu's eyes. After a while, she replied, "Su Xiai is my brother. Marquis Yoan, do you know him?" Sure enough, the Suwa family's people could be said to have the blood of the Nation's royal family flowing in their veins. With the power of Su Xiai in the Nation's imperial court, wouldn't it be easy for the empress to make her daughter a princess? Li Zixuan nodded and said, "Your brother died in the hands of the Tang Empire's army. Don't you hate the Tangs?" No. I, Xiaomu, quickly shook my head and said, "My elder brother is a devil. He deserved to die. Xiaomu will not hate anyone." When everyone heard this, a wave of doubt arose in their hearts. Li Zixuan didn't bother to pay attention to the complicated relationship within the Suwa family. He looked at Su Xiaomu and asked, "Your Highness, since the Nation's empress wants to marry you, please submit a letter of credence to the Tang Empire first. Only with His Majesty's permission can the marriage be arranged. Besides, I'm not a member of the royal family. Even if the Nation's empress wants to marry the Tang Empire, she shouldn't look for me. So, Princess Mingda, please go back. I'll send someone to send you back to the post house." Su Xiaomu was not ugly. On the contrary, she was very beautiful. This really surprised Li Zixuan, but he wasn't the kind of hothead who would be hot-blooded and reckless when he saw a beautiful woman. There was no free lunch in the world. The mountain-back elder brother sent the Nation's princess to him, so he must have a request. If he accepted this woman, he wouldn't be able to refuse the next time the mountain-back elder brother made a request. Besides, he was a marquis outside the royal family. If he married a foreign princess without permission, wouldn't he be tired of living? As long as he dared to accept Su Xiaomu, there would be a lot of memorials to impeach him in the imperial court in a few days. Hearing this, Su Xiaomu's face turned as pale as paper. She knelt in front of Li Zixuan and said with tears in her eyes, "Your Excellency Duke Yonin, please accept me. Actually, Xiaomu is a princess who has just been deposed. This time, she was ordered by our country's crown prince to wander thousands of miles on the sea and narrowly escape death to come to the Tang Empire. If I can't marry you, after returning to a nation, Xiaomu will be sent to the army by the empress. Xiaomu will live a life worse than death. Your Excellency Duke Yong'an, please accept Xiaomu." It turned out that she was a has-been Nation's princess. Needless to say, her weeping and pitiful appearance really moved many people. Even though Li Zixuan had a firm mind, he couldn't help but feel a little touched in his heart. However, he didn't intend to change his decision. "Husband, she's quite pitiful. Why don't we take her in?" Just as Li Zixuan was about to refuse, Han Yushi begged for mercy. This girl was kind by nature. After hearing Su Xiaomu's complaints, her heart immediately softened, because if she was sent to the army, she would basically be a military prostitute. Li Zixuan heard this and looked at his wife speechlessly. He thought to himself, "Wife, are you mistaken? This girl in front of you is trying to snatch your husband. If you take her in, Aren't you inviting a wolf into your house? Madame Marquis, you're Madame Marquis, right? You're beautiful and kind. Please accept Shimu. Shimu won't compete with you for favor. Shimu can do any kind of hard work. Please don't let Duke Yong and send Shimu back. Seeing Han Yushi pleading with Lisa Xuan, Su Shimu immediately grasped this slim chance of survival and quickly kowtowed to Han Yushi to beg. Hearing Su Shimu's pitiful words, Han Yushi's heart softened. She tugged at Lisa Xuan's arm, her eyes filled with pity. Lisa Xuan waved his hand and said, "Wife, you don't have to persuade me anymore. Your husband has his own plans." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.